our draft depth and our position. We're going to focus on that. We'll worry about twist in a minute, okay? The concept that you want to think about is this bubble intersects the sail evenly, and as it goes around, it accelerates faster on the backside than it does on this side, because at the end, it merges back together. So that force, that bending of the wind is why the sailboat sails. All right? So knowing that the bend is what's creating the force, okay? What happens if we make a fuller sail? Are we increasing the amount of bend in the wind? Yep. And so we're generating more power, right? So a fuller sail develops more power, okay?
So that's a deeper depth.
Deeper depth, yep. So here we are, like that, okay? So we have a deeper depth to this sail, okay? Then what happens? All right, here's this sail. What's that draft depth? Really flat, right? So there's not as much bend. So we're not generating the kind of power that a full sail does. But what does this sail do for us? Not so much. Pointing. Pointing. Because now the entry into this sail is like this, because it's flatter. And the fuller sail is more like this, right? Because it's fuller. So you're changing how the wind is entering into the sail. And by changing that, you're changing your pointing. So what we're going to, as we go through all of these functions here, you're going to notice that each function of twist, draft position, and draft depth either gives you power or it gives you pointing. Okay? Now remember the trailer, right? And the Yngling always has a trailer attached to it, right? Always. Always. And so do you ever get to point? Nope. You never get to point in a Yngling, all right? So that's draft depth, all right? Everybody good with that?
So the way you have it drawn there, it looks like your draft position is going further aft.
Yeah, don't pay attention to that. That's next.
Okay.
We're going to talk about that next, okay? That's just kind of how I draw it, and I kind of draw like a kindergartner. So, yeah.
Could you talk about that scenario in not in light air, but in heavier air?
Well, good question. So, in light air, are we looking for power, or are we trying to get rid of power? Looking for power, right? We're looking for first gear in the boat. So do we want a flat sail or a full sail? Very full sail. In heavy air, are we trying to get rid of power, or are we trying to get more power? Get rid of it.
So overpowered.
Yeah, right? Right? So we're trying, and we're going to get into what all the controls do and that kind of stuff here in a minute. But before we get to that, I want to get a foundation of sail shape before we get into the actual trimming of the sail. Other than rule 1, let it out to go faster, trim it into point higher, right? So there's draft depth. We good with depth? All right. So now, all right, we're talking draft position. So here's our wind, right? That's not that great. Let's try that again. There we go. That's better. All right, so now the wind comes evenly at the top, all right? And our draft position It's about there. Okay? And we measure this as far as a percentage. Right? So this could be maybe 40%.
Percentage of what to what?
Back from the.
Of the back to front. So this is the cord length,
40%.
right? And then this is 40% draft forward.
Yeah, the mast is at the top, correct?
Yeah.
The mast is
So
here.
it's front to back.
Or your head stay, depending on whether there's a jib or a,
Okay,
right?
all right.
So here we're at 40%. Okay?
From the mast.
From the mast. Yep, exactly. So now, all right, here's a sail, same draft depth, now it's draft forward, okay? And this could be 30%. Okay? Then lastly, that would be 50%. Okay? So this is 50% aft. Okay? Mainsails generally are in the 50 to 40% range. All right? Head sails are generally between the 40 and 30% range. Okay? And you can take a picture of this. All right? And we're going to look at some pictures here in a minute. Okay? But I want you to get the concept here. So, what does a draft forward, a blue draft forward sail do for us? Any ideas?
The wind is gonna go faster around that side.
It's going to develop more power.
More power.
It's more power at the expense of pointing, because the wind has to come at it from here, okay, versus our normal mode here. Okay? So if we're having problems with boat speed, we want to make the sail more draft forward. Okay? If we're having problems with pointing, right, which we don't ever get to do in the Yngling, just saying, right? If we have a flatter sail, all right, so now we're at the red one, right? The draft goes aft, right? We have this little thing in the boat called a keel, right? And at 50%, it's pushing sideways on the keel. At 30%, it's pushing more forward, which is why we're getting speed and acceleration versus pointing. Saw a light bulb, that was good. Where are my sunglasses? I like that. Keep that going. I like it. Everybody, go ahead.
I think the lights just went off for me.
Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The light went off.
Yeah.
Off, yeah.
Not on. Off.
Not off. So, I'm a little confused
Okay.
because generally, we ease the sails out when we're reaching and running, right?
Yep.
So we want bigger bag. But
We're talking just pointing. We're going straight up wind. This is beating conditions for this. We aren't talking about running.
okay, but
We'll get into spinnakers and running
well, yeah,
here in a minute.
no, I understand
Yep.
it. But
Yep.
conversely, when we're going into the wind, we tighten the halyard some to move the draft a little bit forward.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm not totally confused.
Nope, not confused at all. We're going to get into those controls here in a second. So you're right on. You're just about a minute ahead of schedule.
Well, then the
which
light
is
bulb's really unbright.
Yeah. But the concept that I want you to get here is deep sails develop power.
Yeah.
Flat sails get you to point. Draft forward sails give you power. Draft aft sails give you pointing.
So if we're coming through attack, and we're getting into powerboat chop. So then we'd be loosening the halyard, in theory, to move the draft aft to get more power.
Backwards. Move the draft forward for power. Draft aft, you're pushing against the keel,
Okay.
right? Draft aft, you're pushing against the keel. Draft forward, you're pushing forward of the keel. Okay? So draft forward gives you power. Draft aft gives you pointing. Okay? You good with that?
I'm paying attention.
Okay.
And then is that, what is the twist like in that?
That's next.
Okay.
Good question. No, I know, right? I do want to take it to a fun story. When I was working north, there was a Genoa on a Freres 46 that was nicknamed Patches. Because they had the draft, older sails, the draft generally moves aft, right? And you have to put more halyard on.
Because they get blown out.
Because they get blown out. That's just the nature of, all of us getting saggy, right? And poor Patches, the draft had moved so far aft and they had put on so much halyard tension, they'd ripped the luff of the sail up so many times and patched it that they nicknamed the sail Patches. And I got on board and I took a picture of it.
Oh God.
And it was
Super fast.
87% draft aft.
Oh my
It
God.
actually making the boat go slower to put the sail up.
But boy, did it have power, huh?
Oh, it just pulls you sideways. No, you could point to the moon with it. You just couldn't go anywhere. You would sail backwards.
Oh,
So
wow.
my recommendation as a sail maker at the time was to strip the luff tape off the luff and stitch it onto the leech and turn it around and sail it backwards. That was my suggestion for
Yeah,
Patches.
the owner loved having you on board.
I'm a sailmaker. It was my job to sell sails.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, so now we talked about twist, okay? So we're going to go back to twist here, okay?
Can we just go back, sorry,
Yeah.
so if you move this sail plan forward, you change the center of effort forward.
Yes. Yes, because yes. So so you're not pushing sideways. A 50% draft aft sail is pushing directly against the keel, versus a 30% draft aft sail is pushing forward of the keel. We're going to get into. Well, stay with us here, all right? So here.
Oh boy, we just dropped a whole
Uh-oh.
bunch of light bulbs. Just fell right out.
Is that like crashing fluorescent light bulb sound?
Yes.
So now we're going to talk about twist, okay, and the concept of twist. All right. So much like draft position and draft depth, okay, twist is another sail shape, but rather than looking down on the sail for twist, we're looking from the back to the front, okay, and looking at the profile this way. All right. A twisted sail, right, develops power. An untwisted sail gives you pointing, right? So going back to simple main sheet trim, right? If you ease the main sheet, right, you're twisting the sail and developing power, right? When you pull the main sheet on super hard, right, you're getting rid of twist, and so now you're losing power, but creating pointing. So you're going from first gear to second gear to fourth gear with the trailer. If you come out of the tack and snap the main sheet in hard all the way, you're starting at the bottom of the hill with the trailer in fourth gear. Okay? So that's the concept of twist. And sort of the thought behind it is, there's our boom. There's the first draft stripe, the first one up. Okay? there's the second draft stripe. For those of you that have very tall rigs, there's the third draft stripe. Okay, so this here
So lower down it's tighter.
is the leech of the sail, right? So lower down is tighter,
Yeah.
and top is more opened up. That's twist, okay? So here, at the bottom of the sail, it's pushing this way. At the middle of the sail, it's pushing this way. And at the top, it's pushing this way. All right? So what's happening is as we twist the sail, the top of the sail is pushing the boat forward more than the bottom of the sail.
Cool.
Right? That makes sense? I know it's a 3D problem. It's a little tricky to grasp sometimes.
Jerry, just for clarification.
Yeah,
On your drawing, the black line
is the bottom stripe.
represents the red line
Right.
on the picture,
Correct.
and the blue line represents the black
Black line, and then yes, and then that one is the
green
green.
line. Okay.
Yep, exactly.
All right.
Yep, good.
Okay.
Thanks for that clarification. All right. So what happens when we pull the main sheeting and get rid of twist? Right? Now all of them are all in the same line and they're all pushing sideways against the keel. All right? We only get to do that when the boat is up to what we call target boat speed, right? Which in the Yngling is about 5-ish knots, right?
1.5.
Yeah. I mean, when
Yeah.
when the breeze is at 12 to 14 and you're sitting on the high side and you're, and it's flat water, that's when you actually get to think about pointing. You don't get to, you get to think about it, right?
So,
And that's when you can pull the main in.
so are you gonna get into how fast you're changing gears? I mean, is that just by feel, experience? Sometimes I'm doing that and my captain's yelling trim, and I'm thinking. Like,
And you should say bow down, or you're pinching.
Yeah.
We're too slow.
Okay.
Right?
Then the fight began.
Then she'll hit you.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah, watch out. Make sure that all sharp objects are put away, or heavy blunt objects
I
are
try
put
to go
away.
as far forward as I can. so
Right,
I can't-
exactly. But the concept here, right, is to think about these three things in concert. And where is the boat at? Getting to your question. What's the energy state of the boat? Right? Are we slow or are we fast? And I would say most of you have no idea whether you're fast or slow.
Well,
Right?
Unless you see another boat just kind of whiz by you. then-
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'd highly recommend, there's a little box about this big called an Atlas tube, right? They're $1,300. They're not cheap, but it tells you, it records your entire race. All right. Now I don't know if Ynglings are allowed to have them on display.
I'm gonna stop you for a second.
Please do.
This was brought up last seminar with Bruce Martinson.
Yep.
And they use them on the E-boat. They're
Yep.
not allowed on Yinglings in international racing or national racing.
Yes.
That does not mean that Minnetonka's fleet couldn't adopt it, so we learned. And I brought this up after the last seminar, and we asked, I know Doug sent out an email about this. Would the fleet be interested in allowing this on Minnetonka alone?
Yep.
Because we'd learn.
Exactly.
And I am a big promoter, and I'd like the fleet to consider allowing us, those who want to spend that kind of money. It would be a phenomenal tool for us to figure out what we're doing.
Even if it doesn't get approved by your fleet, which I would highly recommend you. Oh, look at that. Stuff
That's
coming
my
off your-
solar collectors.
Oh, there you go.
Whoosh.
Yeah, well, a little sun will do that. I think one of the biggest problems in the Yngling is it's very difficult to discern, are you fast or are you slow, and by how much?
Yep.
Okay? It's very hard to do. It's hard to do with the J70, right? And actually, when the J70 gets slow and sticky, it feels better, right? And so you're like, oh yeah, boat feels pretty good. Oh yeah. And you look at your atlas and it says you're going 5.2, not 6.1. And when it goes 6.1, the helm goes neutral and feels kind of weird and noodly, but the boat's tracking, right? So I would highly encourage you guys to think about that as a learning tool. Are we going fast or not? Because that really gets to the fact of, if I can look at a device and see that, okay, my target boat speed is 5 knots, all right, and I'm going 4.2, right? That's a problem. That's a huge problem. And you're just going to be going backwards, but you're sitting there, your sails are trimmed in, the helm feels good, you're cruising along with the trailer behind you in 4th gear going up the hill, right? Versus easing the sails, getting the boat moving, and now you've got a device that will tell you, okay, now you're up to 5 knots, now we can pull the sails in. Now we can even think about maybe, possibly trying to point. Maybe. Yeah.
So this device, the Atlas,
Yeah.
is this something that the fleet could invest in, say, 4 devices? And
On passenger? Sure.
and move them around
Sure.
their fleet,
Sure.
so everybody gets a chance to see what they're doing and understand it better than all of us, shelling
Yeah.
out a lot of money.
I think the biggest benefit to it would be to get you to understand when the boat's going fast
Yeah.
and what that feels like and how it handles. Because the Yngling, the one thing about a Yngling that's different than any boat I've sailed is it has the finest groove. You're either in, or most of the time you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And it is really hard to tune yourself into that groove and stay there. And so if we had even 2 and we went out and practiced boat to boat, it would be such a good tool. And so I'd love it to see us start using it. The other thing that it does is it defines the starting line. It would allow us to have better starts and figure out when you're on the line moving fast. Be great.
So, let me talk about the Atlas for a little bit because we use it heavily in the J70 fleet. And it's become a tool that, if you're going to get better, you need to do it. So not only does it give you instantaneous reading of compass heading, whether you're lifted or you're knocked, heel angle, both side to side and fore and aft, all right, and boat speed, which is the big key. Because remember, on our little triangle, what was the bottom part? Boat handling. Second one, boat speed, right? If you guys opt not to use it or adopt it, you could still have it on the boat in a box, okay?
Oh, I
And
see.
then at the end of the race, upload it and watch the race through that. And what I would encourage you guys to do, if you want to adopt, and have the fleet buy 3 or 4 of these things and pass them around, and then everybody upload their stuff to the cloud, and you can look, well, God, JD smoked me on that second beat. What the hell happened? Oh, he was a knot faster in boat speed, and he hit these 2 shifts, or maybe we hit the same shifts, so he was just a knot faster and did that to me, right? It's a great learning tool. It also gets into tack entry speed, tack exit speed, tack recovery time,
Huge.
jibe entry speed, jibe exit speed, jibe recovery time, all of that kind of stuff, okay? So it's a great tool, yeah.
Just going back to twists.
Yes.
So let's say you're in that middle picture there.
Yep.
Where,
We call that VMG, or Velocity Made Good.
velocity made good.
VMG mode,
So
yep.
you don't have a big twist, but you're not totally flat. But let's say you just, whether you have an Atlas or not, we're not fast.
Yep.
Okay? And so then the thing to do there is we've got the 2 sails, and you said we have to think about them together.
Yep.
So that's gotta be a conversation with who's ever trimming the jib and who's ever
And we're
trimming.
about to get into jib trim, main trim, and all of that kind of stuff. Yep.
Okay, 'cause
Yep.
that's where you want to go to the picture
Right.
on the left. You want it more power, so you want more twist.
Exactly. And so now we're going great segue. I love you for that. That's awesome. Because now we're going to get into, now that we understand draft position, draft depth, and twist, how do we control it? How do we do it?
I'm just going to try and track down Subway because they closed the store where Doug ordered the sandwiches. So I'm going to see what I can come up with.
Okay.
You can't write this
Oh,
stuff.
Terry, what's the last 4 digits of your phone number for Venmo?
5089.
Thank you. It's from Sally.
So first gear, deeper sails, more twist, and then as far as driving, we want to prioritize speed over height, i.e., no crabs, no pinch, right? If I tell my skipper, because I trim about 50% of the time and I drive about 50% of the time. If I'm on a trimmer if I'm with the skipper that's pinching all the time, I'm like, dude, you're crabby. What? You're pinching, right? Don't pinch, right? So prioritize speed over height. Set your boom just below the center line. A little bit of heel, maybe. Keep the telltales flowing. All right. Second gear. All right. Keep the boat flat. Little firmer, little less twist in the mainsail. Right. We really want to get max speed before we go flat with the sails. All right. And this is like 7 to 15 knots. And then here, now we're starting to be overpowered mode. We're trying to reduce the sails or reduce the heel, trying to flatten the sails as much as we can. Okay. We've got a lot of controls that are yanked down pretty hard, and we're going to get into those. And this is where we're 15 plus knots. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the head sail first. All right. All right. So when we're driving, this is what I want you guys to think about, okay? There are 3 modes, all right? Rumble mode, meaning we're trying to build speed. VMG, which is our velocity made good, which I'll describe that for a second here, all right? Is if we are sailing along and our boat speed is at 5 knots, and we're at 38 degrees angle off the wind, okay? Our VMG is the speed at which we are going straight upwind to the mark. Okay? It's a virtual concept. It's virtual boat speed. VMG, velocity made good, or virtual made good. Okay? So if we...
Does those Atlas, do they tell you that?
You can get them to do that if you have the right equipment. You need an anemometer at the top with a gauge on it.
Okay.
But that's more big boat stuff,
Yeah.
right? You go up to Lake Superior and everybody has a display that's VMG, right? So what happens if we go?
But when you upload it, it would tell you that.
Yeah. So when you upload it when you take your Atlas and upload it to the cloud, it'll tell you boat speed and VMG.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And so you go, oh. So what happened? So we're at 38 degrees at 5 knots.
Yep.
All right. So now we go to 40 degrees at 5.2 knots. What happened to our VMG?
No idea.
Went down a little bit. Because we're going like this, not like this.
But you're going faster.
You're going faster, but you aren't pointing to the mark as well. Now, if you want to get into a trigonomic calculation, that's great for engineers.
Which he does.
I'm more of a jazz musician, so I just say, dude, this isn't as fast.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Please let him do the trigonometry.
Right? That you can totally, and there's programs out there that'll do that. And I'm going to show you one here in a minute.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, it depends if there's a wind shift too.
We're just talking in the absence.
Just-
We're going to be like economists in the absence of all other variables.
That's right. Okay.
Right?
Yep. Right.
Right? We're monitoring personal utility or whatever. All right. So now, let's say we go to 35 degrees, and we're at 4.7 knots. Okay? Now what happened to our VMG?
Went up,
It went down.
Put down.
down?
Went
Oh,
down
it
a little
went
bit
down. It went down.
because we're slow.
So,
We're
but
slow.
we're pointing better.
Well, but it's so you're saying find the optimum.
That's the optimum, and that's exactly the concept. Is finding the optimum of speed and angle.
Yep.
And that speed versus angle is your VMG mode. Okay? VMG mode. What's the fastest way up to this mark? Right? If we ease the sails and go faster, we lose some VMG, but we gain some boat speed. If we pull the sails in tight, we're pointing higher, but the boat's going slower, and we lose some VMG. Okay? So this are your indicators of VMG without your Atlas on board. This is VMG mode right here. This is what I call rumble mode, where you're building boat speed in the boat, and this is high point. So rumble, VMG, high point. And these are the jib telltales. Okay? So if the two telltales are streaming straight back, you're building boat speed. And I would say you want this in the Yngling at least 50% of the time, probably more like 70 to 75% of the time. How often are you in rumble mode versus?
I'm probably 60 to 70% in the
Rumble mode.
Yep.
So, can you clarify for me when you say you want both telltales? So,
Just like that.
Is that?
So you're pulling, so these are the jib telltales.
And that's the ones on either side of the sail?
Yes.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right. Not
Yep.
up and down.
Correct. These are the ones that are in the little window, if you have the little window.
Okay.
Or they're a foot and a half back from the luff of the sail. Yep. And this is your groove
Yep.
for driving.
I should clarify that when we aren't in the rumble mode, it's only for seconds. We don't just go into the more
Yep.
pointing mode. We'll use that to scallop up, but most of the time we're not in that mode.
Right.
You just don't sit there and go, oh, we're pointing really good. You scallop to point.
Right? So
And say again, rumble mode is the top of
The top one.
rumble.
You want to go fast.
Rumble. The boat's rumbling along.
Yep.
Here we come, rumbling along. We're getting the boat to go, right? And they're like, now we got the boat going. Now we go to VMG mode.
Yep.
Pull the sails in a little bit, not all the way. Average twist, average draft position, average draft depth. That's our VMG mode, okay? And then if JD is right here, and I'm right here, what do I want to do? I want to put on the blinker and come up to here, get him into my gas, right? That's when you go into high point, all right? And this inside telltale is going to stand almost straight up. But as soon as you do that, what happens?
Slow down.
Boats get slow. It gets sticky. And you go from your 5.0 to 4.7 to 4.2 to 3.8 to 3.2. And if you go here, right, you're here, and you're like, oh, JD's on our hip, we're going to saw him off, right? And you just trim in the sails and go, and then he does that to you. Because you lived in High Point too long. You get to live in High Point for about 10-ish seconds before you pull the helm, turn back down, ease your sails, and go back into rumble mode. Don't go back to VMG, because the boat won't accelerate. You're pulling the trailer up the hill in fourth gear, right? Go back to rumble. So JD made a really interesting comment of scalloping. So what he's talking about is, here is Terry sailing along, and I'm just sailing VMG, minding my own business, not really paying attention, right? Here's JD, and he's in rumble, and he goes rumble mode to forward, then to high point, scallops up. Then rumble mode forward, high point to scallop up. And you can do this and scallop your way up to here. And now all of a sudden, you're toast. And so when somebody goes from underneath you up and climbs up to your line, that's what they're doing. All right? It's a combination of sail trim and driving. All right? So we're going to go maximum speed and then go right past VMG to high point and scallop. We're going to live there for 10 seconds. Then we're going to go bow down, back to maximum speed, get the boat moving again. All right? Get back up to that 5.0 number. And by the way, if you do get an Atlas, I don't know what the target speed of a Yngling should be. I'm just using 5.0 as a number. Okay, so if you do decide to go to Atlas and you come to me this summer and go, I was going 5.0 and I was getting passed by the world. Well, I don't know what the target boat's be. I can tell you on a J70, it's 6.1. Okay? So that's the concept that we want to get to.
Okay, just so I'm clear,
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
On the right, that's the inside telltale that you're looking at then, right?
The
shape of
the red one is the inside.
Right,
The gray
okay.
one is the one that's through the sail.
I'm sorry, say it again?
The red one is on the inside.
Right.
The gray one is through the sail.
That gray or pink, whatever, okay, yeah.
These.
Oh, okay, I thought that was the sail, that represented the sail.
No, that's the top.
That's the one
Those are
on
the,
inside.
so here, right, these are the head sail tailtails, right? And yes, in this case, the red is on the inside and the
Right.
pink is on the outside.
Right.
But this is the concept that you need to take away, is what mode am I in?
Yeah, I'm saying, so on both sides, the red is on the inside, on both sides of the.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yep. So, and I think as crew, that's something that you can certainly talk about. We talk about it on our boat every 30 seconds.
all the time.
What mode are we in? Rumble. All right, rumble mode. And there's a bunch of things that happen when we go to rumble mode. Okay? Let's talk about what is the most important control for jibbing. There's a hint. It's on the screen.
Forestay.
Forestay. What does the forestay do?
Straight.
It's either straight or it sags, right? Here's a headstay with sag. Here's a headstay that's tight. Look at the draft stripes. Ooh, they change. So with the saggy headstay, the draft gets deeper and forward. Okay? With a tight headstay, the draft gets flatter and moves aft. So, saggy, right? Deeper and forward, which is power and power.
And that's with your halyard. You're making
No,
that
this
adjustment.
is not halyard.
Oh,
This is not halyard. This is headstay. The halyard is the tension on the cloth. This is the actual headstay sagging. This is controlled with
How tight your rig is.
backstay. How tight your rig is.
Okay, so
Right?
it's a backstay adjustment.
It's backstay and rig tension, right? So if you have the rig too tight,
Are you talking about your, okay, stay.
Your shrouds.
The upper shroud.
The upper shrouds, right? Because you guys crank on your upper shrouds when it's windy.
Yeah.
Why? Because the wind blows harder and the headstay sags. And when it's windy, what do we want?
Less head stay.
We want a tight headstay so it's draft forward and it's flatter, right? Versus conversely, if it's light air and your rig's too tight, the headstay doesn't sag at all, right? And you're in fourth gear with the trailer trying to go up the hill. Okay? So one of the things that you want to look for with headstay sag, all right? And if you take away anything from this seminar, come away with this concept, okay? And that is controlling your headstay sag with the main sheet tension first and then the backstay. Because what happens when you pull on the main sheet? Pulls the top of the main in and pulls the tip of the mast back. By doing that, it tightens the headstay, right? And when you ease the main sheet, the mainsail opens up and twists, and the headstay starts to sag, giving you power. And one of the things that I want you guys to do this summer is you go through the tuning guides and you said, okay, supposed to have this reg tension for this wind conditions, right? And go out and sail and pull on the main sheet and ease it out. And pull it and ease it out. And I want you to look for this. Okay? And you'll see it. This sail will go doink and it'll move about this far. Right? Well, the sail in the center is only this wide. You pull this much out of it, that's like 10%. Right? You're flattening the sail by a ton by that much. All right? Conversely, if you let it sag, you're putting 10% more depth into the sail, and you're really getting that first gear power up. Okay? So the other problem that I see is puff comes on, you pull on a little backstay. That's what we all kind of do, right? Puff goes away. Backstay's still on.
Yeah, you forget the backstay.
You forget the backstay, right? Happens all the time. And so you come out of attack and the backstay's on and the vang's on and everything's on and you're in fourth gear with the trailer at the bottom of the hill, right? And the boat just doesn't go. And that is, if you can take away anything from this sail trim thing, it's understanding headstay sag and understanding rumble mode, VMG, and high point. All right? Can we do high point with the saggy headstay? Nope. Draft is too forward and it's too deep. Right? In order to get the boat to point, we got to have the headstay tight. Okay? And so we're going to pull on the main sheet, and if it's still too saggy, we're going to pull on some backstay and get that headstay tight. Now the boat's in high point mode, right? And maybe we can kind of live there by driving in a VMG mode, but the sails are in high point mode, right? So we're driving in a VMG mode with the telltale sort of split at 45, right? But the sails are in high point mode because we have the backstay on, the main sheet's on, things are trimmed in, all right? But we're starting to get slow and sticky, right? You got it. Ease the backstay, ease the vang, ease the main sheet, ease the jib sheet, get some twist going again, and get the boat moving again, all right?
I'm sorry, can you just snap between, so with the four-stage sway, sagging,
Yep, this is sag.
Your draft is forward?
Forward and deeper.
And deeper, okay. Forward and deeper. Okay.
Well, let's think about this. Here's our sail, right? Here's our curve, right? When this headstay sags, what happens? It goes like this.
Okay.
When we get it tight, it goes like this, right? So this is draft aft and flat. This is draft forward and deep. And that's how we control that, We're good?
FYI, they're not seeing him.
There. So when we ease the head stay, it goes like this, making it fuller and draft forward. And when we pull the head stay, it goes flat and draft aft. Okay? How are we doing on that? Doing okay?
Huh?
Huh? Can you tell me the part
A
about the
lot.
thing and the stuff again?
Yeah.
Right? So, what are some of the controls that we can do? Let's start on head sail here. Okay. What are some of the controls we can do to change twist? Right? Biggest one is car position.
Yep.
Right? And I'd be willing to bet, if I inspected some of your boats, I'd find the car rusted in its hole because it hasn't moved in years. Right?
No.
Some boats, yes. Some boats, no. Don't be afraid of change. Go ahead and try stuff. Move the car back a hole. Sail with it back a hole for an entire race for the given conditions, or maybe 2 holes back. And then have an honest assessment. Were we faster or slower? Oh, we got second. Well, we also banged the corner. We got lucky on the shift, right? So you want to be honest with your assessment about it, but moving the car forward gets rid of twist, right? Moving the car aft induces twist. But there's one other concept with this, is if we move the car back and we twist the sail open, and we look up and we say, oh, the leech of the sail, we want to trim it to the middle of the spreader or the end of the spreader. I'm not sure where you do it on the Yngling. Where do you trim the jib to?
Where it's right.
Where it's right, right? So if you move the car back and twist it open, right, you can pull the sail a little tighter, right? So that would be for heavier wind, maybe, move the car back, because we're trying to flatten the sail, because now by moving the car back and trimming it tighter, we're getting rid of twist and we're flattening the sail, right? Gives us all sorts of pointing, versus when it's 0 to 4 and this race officer has you out there sailing a race and you're like sailing in the angry Jello power boats, and do you want the car back? No, you want the car forward, all right? Because you have to ease the sail. There's a relationship on the jib of twist and trim, right? So if you trim in, you're getting rid of twist, just like on the main sheet, all right? And as you ease the jib sheet, you're inducing twist. But if you're sailing in light breeze, you need to have the sail eased, because number 1 rule is let it out to go faster. I'm going to ask you guys this a lot. I'm going to expect you to answer, right? Number 1 rule, let it out to go faster. Well, if we're letting it out to go faster, and now we have too much twist, we have to move the car forward to get the twist back to its normal position. Okay? Yeah.
I want to just interject that in the years that I've sailed this in this fleet, I've consistently heard, "Oh no, don't move your cars."
Yeah.
And we move our car all the time, but we have it adjustable from the hiking position. But it's a big deal. And
It's huge.
then when you're saying, where do you trim your jib to? And I say where it's right, we don't use anything other than the telltale on the leech to say it's flowing. And so we're trying to move the car to make the right twist with flow, and then it goes fast.
So one of the and I want to hit on this. You know, how much trim do you need? How much trim do you got to pull it in? And how do you make it repeatable? Because the big key is we're going to make changes to the boat, but we want to be able to repeat it. Right? It's like, oh, that was fast. We ran away from JD today. It was awesome. And it wasn't because we were the Cornersville population 1. We were sailing right next to him and we sailed right about higher and faster. Well, wouldn't you like to be able to repeat that?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So how do you do that with sail trim? And I'll tell you. On the J70, Here's our little block, right? There's the clue. And it comes down to the block, then back to another block, and then to a cleat. Okay? And you now, unfortunately for all of you, are going to be graduates of the Terry Foster School of Sailboat Racing.
Oh boy.
And there's a union card that is required for you at all times when on the island. And that is a Sharpie marker and a roll of tape. And if you do not have such devices, you owe your coach a cocktail. Now, I don't drink alcohol anymore, so I'm kind of a cheap date. But I'm going to ask you, show me your union card. And I want to see a Sharpie marker and a roll of tape in your pocket. Saying I left it in the boat, you have to have it on your person, right? At all times. The reason why is, what you're going to do is you're going to put a mark on the jib sheet. Well, first you're going to put a piece of tape on it and mark the piece of tape. And the reason why we use a piece of tape is we might have the mark in the wrong spot. We want to be able to change it. All right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to put marks on the deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? We have this on the J70. We go from 1 to 9, and it's a distance of about that much. Okay? And we will go out in our pre-sale, and we'll start off with the car position. Let's start with the car position in hole 6, which means in our language, 6 holes showing in front of the car on the track. So we're going to start at number 6, okay? And we're going to start at number 4 on the jib trim, and we're going to go out and sail against JD, right? And let's say at number 6, we're pretty even, we're okay, all right? Then we go to hole 5. Okay, so we've moved the car forward a notch. All right, and we go to number 3 on the jib trim. All right, this is more of a rumble mode. Right, we've now moved the car forward. Because the car is forward, we don't want to pull the top of the sail in too much, so we have to sail with a little ease. That's going to make the sail rounder, which makes more power, right? And we want to start off with our twist at a 3 on this and sort of look at it, okay? All right, now we're rumbling along, and we're sailing next to JD, and we're faster, we're pulling away, but we aren't quite pointing as well, right? Because we're in rumble mode. All right, so now, let's move the car to 7, okay? And when we do that, what happens to the top of the jib? Opens up, right? So what do we have to do with the sheet to fix that? Trim it a little tighter. So now we might go maybe even to 6 on the trim, right? Now we're in that high point mode, right? Now we can go, oh, well, now we're doing this, but, all right, we're sailing with JD. We're doing this, but he's doing that to us. What's our VMG?
Less than JD's.
Less than JD's. Exactly. So we're finding out through your union card what the proper settings is for your best VMG and make it repeatable. Because the whole point to this is if you can't repeat it, it doesn't mean crap. Okay? Now, JD talked about that his cars are an adjustment that he can change from the rail. So as he's sailing along, they go, oh, we got good boat speed here. Let's go high point mode. And the car comes back and the sheet comes in and he does this to you. Right? And then, we were at 5 knots, now we're at 4.6. We gotta change it, ease it. Now, if you don't have the adjustable cars, don't get wrapped up on the axle on that. That's a 5,000 level. Oh, awesome. Thank you. That's a 5,000 level kind of skill set. Okay. What's more important is being cognizant of where your trim setting is and being able to mark it and repeat it. All right. I sailed a Melgus 15 for the Champ of Champs a couple of summers ago. And the first thing we did is mark the jib sheet. Because on the Melgus 15, it's really hard to understand where the jib is, trimmed in or trimmed out. Okay? It's really hard to do that. So by setting the trim marks on here, let's set it to a 3. Let's look at it and get an opinion on it. And then we'll set it to a 6 and sail it, get an opinion. What do we think? Yeah.
So if the wind is 6 miles an hour and you set the marks, when the wind is 10 miles an hour, are the marks the same, or do you?
Marks are same, but you might, instead of be at a 3, you might be at a 6.
So
Got it.
Right? So this is marked on the deck with a Sharpie marker.
Got it.
And I've got a roll of tape that I've made a mark on the jib sheet, right? And then after the first time I do this, I move the tape around so I get it in the right range. And then after the race, I take the jib sheets, right? Get a tape on the other side, mark them so they're the same, and then play with it for a couple of races. And then once I'm finally happy with it, take your Sharpie mark, take the tape off, and mark the Sharpie marker directly onto the jib sheet. Okay? On my boat, we've gone another step farther, because the problem with marking it with the Sharpie marker on your thing is get about 3-4 weeks in and the Sharpie marker fades, right?
So you sew it.
So I've sewed a webbing strap onto there, and then we just take a red marker or pink or blue or whatever color happens to be in my daughter's pocket, and she marks it in, and then we can see very cleanly where's our trim at. And from a driver's standpoint, you're driving along and it's like, okay, I'm in that VMG mode with my telltales, right? And I look down and the trim's at a 2. Like, wow, that's why we're not pointing. Sail's not trimmed in all the way. We're supposed to be at a 4. Making it repeatable is the key. And so the rule is, if you don't have a Sharpie marker and a roll of tape, you're going to have to answer to me. Yeah.
I want to, you made a comment about before the race and you go out with me and we're tuning our boats.
Yep.
And I've talked about that with the fleet a number of times of how we did that in the sea boat, and this fleet is having a hard time getting there. But before the race, if you have a buddy, just somebody that you always go out, you tune with, you set your jib up, and that's going to really help both of you. And we don't do that as a fleet, but it would be another advancement that, you know, I think you're right on. That if you know the numbers.
I can't speak. I'll never forget my very first A Scout regatta. I don't know how old, in my 20s, right? And it's at Mendota. We're sailing out of Mendota, and you know, the A Scouts are, you know, they sail a proper regatta where you have breakfast and then you go out and you sail one race and come in and dine for lunch.
Have champagne.
Yes, have champagne and whatever, and then you go out.
Wear your ascot.
Wear your ascot, your whole deal, and then you go out and you sail. Then you go out again and you sail another race in the afternoon, and then you come back for cocktail hour. It's very civilized,
Yes.
right? Versus me growing up at, you know, the Keelboat Church, is like we get 4 races in before lunch. That's, you know, a different deal. Yeah. But I'll never forget, I went to that regatta and there's Buddy, big as life, right? And he's just big as life. And here it is, 2 hours before the start. He's leaving the harbor.
Yep.
He's leaving the harbor going out sailing with his team. And, come on, guys! Blah, 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 blah. And I look at that and go, this is Buddy Melgus. He designed the freaking thing. Yeah. Does he have to go out 2 hours before the race? Every race? For that entire regatta, right? His team would come in, they'd wolf down their lunch super quick, jump back on the boat, and head back out and practice for an hour before the start of the race, or an hour and a half before the start of every race, morning and afternoon for 3 days. And it's buddy. I took that lesson to heart. I really took that lesson to heart. And so as a result, on our boat, we go out as early as possible, and we go out and we have a pre-race program where we sail upwind, we check our sail trim, all right? If we've got somebody to sail against, so much the better. We've got a lot of good people in the J70 fleet at Wayzata. Joel Ronning sails there. He's a 2-time world champion. Eric Doyle, America's Cup guy, he's in the fleet. I mean, you know, a couple of real choppers to try and sail against, right? And check your settings. But like JD said, go out and sail. Because I'm sitting in the committee boat. I look out and see you guys coming down, and it's like, you aren't out early. You barely make it in time for the third start, right? You laugh, I'm serious. I'm serious. So this is something that I want you guys to do this summer.
I've got a question here, Terry.
Yeah.
And maybe JD or one of the other guys. What seems like, thinking about the boat, this line and the deck are not necessarily that close together.
Right there. Yeah.
Right? And so this might be, your numbers might be down here. Right? And if
Yep.
you're marking your tape, I'm trying to visualize this as a crew, and I'm like, my eyeballs up here, right? And I'm looking down here, am I seeing this? Or am I seeing this? Right? I don't know that I could.
Well, it's coming back to a block,
Can you
right?
stand off to the right side?
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
the left?
Right? So
So I'm thinking
here,
Yep.
this comes out of here to a block,
Yep.
right? And then from that block, it goes to a cleat.
Yes.
And where's that cleat?
The cleat is usually on the rail.
Okay, so about where 5 is.
Depends on the boat.
Yeah, it
Some
depends
boats
on the
are-
boat.
Yeah, we're all rigged differently.
Okay. Right. So here, right? What if you put the lines here,
I can't even think of my boat. I mean,
right? Forward of the block.
Oh, you can put them forward of the block.
Put them forward of the block, right? So for the Yngling, right?
Here you go.
No, that's
wrong color, bad marker.
right.
Bad.
All right, so, well, but can I see that picture again?
Yeah.
Yeah, so your car's up here, and there's your turning block. Yeah.
Oh,
So
it's got a
it
picture
comes
of a
down to the
boat.
car,
Get out of here.
and then it goes to the turning block, and then to your cleat.
Pictures of my boat.
Right.
in the house.
So put it in front of
Too.
that block.
I don't even know.
All
what
right?
my boat looks
Go ahead.
One there,
Put it up here.
right there.
I'll show you mine, but I'm
On
recording.
that,
Okay.
where that red thing is?
No, here.
On the deck.
Right,
That's
right
it.
here,
Right.
right there.
Yeah, show the camera too. Oh, yeah.
Put it right there in front of your sheeting
Gotcha.
block.
Yep.
So between the car and the sheeting block. Okay?
Can you see it over here?
Yeah, sure.
But I won't have Roger's boat.
So here you're trimming and you go, oh
It's all
yeah,
about you
I'm at
anyway.
a 6 or a 7, or here I'm at a 3.
Gotta make it match.
And make that determination
It's the same pretty
On
much.
this line here.
Just a little more.
Here.
close.
right there. Uh-huh.
And you have
The tape's on this line.
The tape's on, yeah, you mark the tape here.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Marks up there.
Okay, I mean, what about, maybe this is the same thing, but, you know, we're always talking about, oh, is it block to block, you know, is here connected, so that would be
Oh,
equivalent
that
to.
distance. Yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, you put
So
cars
then-
here,
Well, no, because it's going to come off the clue,
right?
and then it goes to the turning block, which is forward of your ratchet,
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
right?
so that doesn't come up, doesn't go to your car?
This is your ratchet.
Right,
That's your car,
right,
Yeah.
right.
right? And you're putting marks in between the ratchet and the car.
Okay, I guess I was trying to, in between the car and the,
No,
and the, no,
no, in between the car and the ratchet.
okay.
Okay,
I like that. That's nice.
and then you know if you're block to block, you might be at a 9
Right,
on a scale of 1 to 6. Kind of over trimmed there,
okay.
right?
Well, I mean, that's, I'm being told,
Right.
Jimmy, trim it, and I'm off, and I'm always being told, trim it, because she wants to point.
Right, but the problem is you're trying to do it by feel. Now you have a way of making
Yeah.
it repeatable,
Right.
right? Okay, don't trim it, let's put it at a 4.
Right,
And let's sail with a 4 before the race and see how it goes.
right.
All right? And then it's like, okay, 4, and we're sailing against JD and we're pointing a little higher, but we seem a little slow. Right? Well, let's go to a 3. Right? Because the number 1 rule is let it out to go faster,
Yeah.
pull it into point higher. Right? So if we're pointing well, but we're slow, ease it from a 4 to a 3 or to a 2, right? And now it's repeatable. Because without any marks, you're kind of guessing.
I love that.
And unless you're a sailmaker, right, you ain't going to make it repeatable. How you doing?
We're gonna have to head out
Okay.
in about 5 minutes.
All right. Well, we'll wrap up because there's one other thing I want to talk to you about sail trim here.
You recording?
Okay?
Yeah.
So this is what I want you guys to work on with the jib. Okay?
We'll see.
Now what do we have to do next? The same with the main.
What?
Here's what I need help with.
What is the main? What is that?
That's the back triangle thingy.
Oh, the big one. The big triangle.
You just said it.
The back triangle thingy.
Yeah. Just clean it,
Said
forget
it,
about
forget
it.
it.
Yeah, it's not the George Foreman grill.
That's good.
Right? So there's a couple of things with the main that we have that are controls. Right? One is the main sheet. The other is the traveler. Okay? And so what I want you to do, for starters, here's your traveler. All right? For starters, I want you to set the traveler all the way to the top. Okay? All the way to the top. And then I want you to put your eye next to the boom and set it like a gun sight. Right? And point it right at the headstay. Right? Not a couple of degrees high, not a couple of degrees low, but right at the headstay. So the boom is in the center of the boat. You know what? I'm going to move this. Not to scale. Okay? Like I said, I draw like a kindergartner. Okay? And so now, JD, do you have is your main sheet cleat on a fiddle block at the top of the traveler, or do you have a center pedestal? Center pedestal. Okay. So what's going to happen is 1, 2, 3, 4 cleat. Correct? Right?
Most of us are cleated up on the deck.
Up on the deck. Okay, that's fine.
Matter.
That's fine. So now, what I want you to do, and I'm going to explode this out. Like that. Okay? This is your 4 to your main sheet. Okay?
Yeah.
All right? I might have one less purchase.
Right.
But what I want you to start is, remember, what do we want? What's the goal? The goal is to make it repeatable. So you can look at a glance and see how trimmed in am I? What mode am I in? Am I in Rumble? Am I in VMG? Or am I in High Point? All right? And you take your union card and you put a piece of tape, right, on the one that doesn't move, right in the middle. Right? So the first one coming off. I don't know on the Yngling if it's at the top or it's the bottom, but the one that doesn't move.
It starts at the bottom.
It starts at the bottom and goes up.
Yep.
Right? So on that line, you're going to put a mark.
And that's on the transom in the middle. Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Yep, you're going to put a mark there. All right? And then it's going to go through the main sheet system a couple of times. And then on the last one back there, you're going to sight down the boom like a gun sight. Not sort of, oh, that looks about right. No, put your eyeball right on the boom or maybe under it from the back of the boat and look forward and point it right at the headstay. So you know the boom is exactly on center line. And you're going to put a mark right there on the main sheet.
And that's when it goes to the cleat.
No, this is just,
And
right?
I've got the traveler all the way up.
The traveler's all the way up,
Oh, okay.
right? Here's our traveler, right? It's going like this off the back of the boat,
Okay.
right? We got a mark here, and then it goes forward on the boom and then down and et cetera, right? So on this last partner, so you can line these up,
Oh, okay.
right? So now when we ease the sheet, this one doesn't move. It's in spot, right? When we ease the sheet,
That goes up.
the mark's here,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And when we trim the sheet,
Mark goes down.
the mark's here. Ooh, we're starting to see a repetitive theme here. What mode would this be? VMG.
Gee.
What mode would this be? You're eased out, ease it to go
Power.
faster.
Rumble.
Rumble. What mode would this be?
20.
High point. Now you can see it visually with your union card. Right?
That's pretty cool, Terry, because you could leave that on all summer.
Yeah!
Yeah,
Yeah! Red light bulb, I love it. Matter of fact, on our boat, we take webbing straps and we strap them in
There
there,
you go.
right?
Wow.
Now,
Well, because then it's a glance.
yeah, just look at it like, what mode am I in?
Yeah.
Okay, we're in VMG on the main sheet, and oh shit, we're in rumble mode on the jib.
Yeah.
Let's come in one number on the jib.
Yeah.
Now we're even. Somebody asked, don't we want the leeches even and all that kind of stuff? This is how you can see it at a glance.
Wow.
All right, and we take webbing strap, little whipping twine,
Yeah.
and stitch it into the line here. So once we use our tape to find the right spots,
Yeah.
right, and then we mark it with the Sharpie, and then when we find the happy place that we find the range and what we like and that kind of stuff, then we stitch it in there. Okay, because over time the tape will only last about a half a summer,
Yeah.
right?
And the Sharpie gets.
And the Sharpie fades
Yeah, you
and
can't
all of
see
that
it.
kind of stuff. But the key to this is making it repeatable.
Yeah.
Because without being able to repeat it, you're like, boy, we're really fast today.
Yay.
La 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 la.
Yay.
Oh, God, we were something slow today.
This is $1 million tip.
Why? Right? So now you know why the union card is so
We're
important.
looking at the other one.
Right? Now, what is one thing that is going to change this on both the main and on the jib?
The car position.
Nope, car won't change where
No.
the overall
Wrong.
change.
Good drive.
Stretch. But that's
Close, you're on the right track. What if you don't have it hoisted all the way up?
No, that sucks. Mine comes out all the time.
What happens if you don't have it hoisted all the way up? What happens to these marks?
don't?
They're screwed. What is the number one problem I see in the Yngling fleet from the race committee?
Halyard tension.
Jib halyard tension. There isn't any. Right? The jib. Here's our head stay.
I think you may have
Here's the
called
front of
this
the
out-
boat.
Called this out a few times.
And the jib is looking like this.
Yeah.
Right? How do you fix that?
Halyard.
How do you know, make this repeatable?
Put a mark on the halyard.
Your union card,
Yeah.
right? On the mast, right? The halyard comes out, goes to a cleat, and you have a piece of tape and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 marks, right? To make it repeatable, right? Super important. On the J70, we have a fine tune. So our jib halyard on the J70 comes out, and then it goes to an 8-to-1 purchase system.
Yeah, a lot of these boats have.
Yeah, you have fine tune. Do you have it marked?
No.
No,
Of course not.
of course not. Right?
We weren't in the union.
Well, now you are, right?
Terry, we're part of management. We're not.
I know, right? That's forward of the Traveler Bar. It doesn't, man, it doesn't affect me. That's Frontierland up there, right? So, I want you to mark with your union card both the main halyard and the jib halyard. All right? Now, the jib halyard is super, super important. And the Yngling, because it's a jib, not a Genoa, jib halyard tension is very sensitive in these boats. And it changes the profile a ton. Okay? Going back to when we first started sail trim, draft position. All right? If we pull on the jib halyard, the draft goes forward. If we ease the jib halyard, the draft goes aft. Right? If we have a saggy head stay, all right, and a tight jib halyard, the jib is too far forward and we can't get the boat to point, but it goes pretty fast, right?
How can you? Oh, saggy head stay. Yeah, I understand. Yes.
Saggy head stay, right? Pulling it back. We're wrapping up the sail trim portion of this because we're coming up on 2 hours and lunch. Okay. Yeah.
So if you move up, so that's assumes that you do these markings with the traveller up high. But
On
they're all-
this, yes.
But they're all going to change if the traveller's in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But then you'll see. But guess what?
Okay. We're all
Do you have one mark here? No. So we know that when we go traveler down and the red marks to here, oh, at least we can make, okay, the red mark
could
even
still-
with here is, oh, that's pretty good. I like that. Or or if we're showing the blue mark in the traveler down, you're way out. It gives you a reference to make it repeatable, right? So on our boat, we actually have 4 marks on the main sheet, all right? We have 9 on the jib sheet, all right? And on the halyard, we have 9 different settings. Yeah.
Okay. We never sail with a traveler all the way up to the top.
You will now in the light stuff.
Speak for yourself.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Okay.
Right? Because
Yeah,
by pulling the traveler up, what are you doing to the twist profile of the main?
Right.
You're twisting it.
Yeah.
So in light air, which I'm told happens on this lake a little bit,
Yeah, and you use a sheet. Yeah.
and we're gonna, well, you don't want to use the sheet. You want to have the boom in the
You
center.
just want the
Or
boom in the
BMG.
middle.
You're-
Yeah.
So we aren't.
Take 2 different sandwiches.
Okay.
Okay, yep, sorry, this is so great, thank you
Yeah,
so much.
no worries. Hey, thanks for coming.
Before we go though,
Yeah.
I have one corollary that has helped me related to marks.
Corollary.
Corollary.
Wow.
Is that like a heart condition?
It is. On the spinnaker.
Oh, that's coronary. Oh,
On the,
we've gotten
on the
to
spinnaker.
yet.
I know. You got the block that the spinnaker halyard comes through, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sitting at the front of the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else is pulling it up. I don't know. Right. I drew a mark on that halyard because if I don't see that mark in the block, I know my spinnaker is
Right.
up.
Right.
Yep. And there's a lot of times where we're like, the mark isn't in the block. Where's the spinnaker?
Right. 100%.
Because I can't really see it at
Right.
that point.
So yeah, that's you use your union card and you mark it, and then when the spinnaker goes up to the top, make sure that the mark is in the blocks or the cleats or whatever. Yep.
So, anyways,
Yep.
that's helped me.
So the big key, coming back to going upwind sailing here for a minute.
Yep.
All right. So you've got this jib halyard tensioning system, right?
Right.
And there again, you've got a fiddle block up here and a couple of blocks down here,
Yeah.
and it's going like this,
Yeah.
right? Guess what we can do? Put a mark on that one that doesn't move, and a mark on this one that moves the most, and then have another mark and another mark,
Below the deck. You can look at that?
right?
Ours is, yeah.
Yeah, most of them are below the deck.
Yeah, most of us can't see
Yeah.
anything.
All right. Well, then what could
It's
you
where
do?
it comes out.
And they come
There's
on
an
both sides,
adjustment.
so
Well,
you can't mark the
We,
sides either.
we can mark on our mast where the halyard comes out.
That's another. Yeah,
'Cause
mark
then-
on the
Because
mast.
then we start with all that stuff, but it goes below the deck, but we can see above.
Yeah.
the
So you
crew.
could either
Yeah.
up here
Yeah.
see it,
Yeah.
but it's not as granular, right? Because this much makes a big difference,
Yeah,
right?
right.
The other option you can do is mark the line, because the line comes out to a block, right? That you can trim in from
Yeah. Yeah.
from the
If you got-
cockpit.
If you got trim on both sides, though, it gets.
Oh, do you have a halyard trim on both
Yeah,
sides?
yeah.
Some of them
Okay.
do.
All
And
right.
ours goes through the bottom of the mast, so we don't even see it.
Yeah.
It's just invisible.
Oh, you-
It's magic. It just comes out as a line.
You need to get
Right.
a different boat then.
We're gonna get one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Get one of those.
Well, that's fine then. Go ahead and mark it on the mast.
But it is something that
So-
we could mark and repeat.
But the fact that the boat's even rigged to have it adjustable from the rail while you're sailing
Yeah.
tells you how important
Yeah.
that control is, and how many of you are changing it as you sail. The answer is not many of you, because most of you are sailing around like this.
So I want to interject one thing. That big scallop is, you're seeing people sailing the 350, what is that damn jib that Doyle has? The
180 full?
350, the 180 full.
180.
And it is the ugliest sail. That's how it's supposed to look. It is awful, but it's really fast. I hate it because you can't sail it like a normal jib. If you use any other jib, everything he's talking about is right. You know, you don't have those scallops.
So the same
Have
thing
that
happened in the
bullshit.
J-24 fleet. Kenny Reed, who is a very accomplished sailor and is now head of North Sales, et cetera, but back in the 80s, he was working for Sobstead Sales back in the day. And he showed up to the J-24 Worlds with brand new Genoa. And they put it up, and they're like, fuck, it's too far draft forward. It's too draft forward. We can't get the boat to point at all, right? And so they eased the halyard off to try and get the draft to come back to get some pointing into the sail, right?
Oh, okay.
And they're sailing. It was so far off. You know, you want the sail in its draft aft mode to be at 38 or 40% draft aft, and they're at 32. And they got the halyard, and they're sailing it with scallops like this, and which when you're sailing it that soft, that changes your clew height.
Yep.
So your car positions change. All this,
Yep.
everything goes haywire, right? With the sail.
They killed it, huh?
Well, it was in Newport. It's a light air, shifty breeze with a shit ton of current, and he tactically was better than everybody else, and he won the world championship. And what happened? Everybody, oh, Kenny Reed sailing with the scallops in there, and the next year, everybody in the fleet was sailing with big scallops in their jib because we're lemmings and we jump over the cliff.
Well,
Right.
I'll tell you, because the sail is a fast sail, but I'll show you what Charlie tried this with his boat after talking to the Europeans. And what they've done, there's your mast. Isn't that a beautiful boat?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what the hell's the mast
It's
doing
not a
there?
Yngling.
Why would anyone put the mast there? So you have this big ugly sail, and what they did is they actually drew these lines right on the deck, and they trimmed those lines. It's repeatable.
Right.
And
Same thing as
The
putting
same
the
concept.
numbers on. Yep.
yeah, and
Yep.
so that particular sail, because it's so big and bulbous, the only way to make it repeatable for the Europeans was to actually mark the deck. And it makes sense. And it's the same concept.
It's the same as this.
Same as that.
Same as
only,
this, it's
Only you're using
This
it
is a little
on that
more
sail.
fine. This is a little more granular, I think.
Well, I think on a regular jib that works really great. On this weird sail with the, it's just a strange sail.
I would be willing to bet that if you pulled the scallops out of that sail, all right, because the problem is the reason why you sail with scallops is because the sail is too draft forward.
Yeah.
Right? And so you have no halyard tension on at all to try and get the draft aft a little bit. We don't have that problem on Lake Minnetonka, right? They're doing this in 12 to 14 knots out on the ocean, right? We need a draft forward sail to get power on Lake Minnetonka. Get rid of the scallops.
You mean in light airs?
Light air. So the concept, yeah, get rid of the scallops. Now, what is okay, right, is here's your head stay, right, and here's your jib. You got the little hanks on here,
Yep.
and you'll get little wrinkles
Right. Yeah.
right on the hanks. And what that halyard tension does is visually, if you ease it, the wrinkles off the hanks get bigger. All right? As you pull the tension on, those wrinkles go away.
Yeah.
All right? If you get to the point of scallops, you're too loose. And I'm going to disagree with you. Regardless of that sail, on Lake Minnetonka, out on the North Ocean or wherever where it's blowing 14 and you're trying to get some pointing because you have more energy in the boat because it's blowing harder. But here in Minnetonka, get rid of the scallops. Get rid of the
Yeah.
scallops.
Well,
It's a tough one.
You know what we've seen with that sail is you got to play the halyard.
Yeah.
You know, you have to really work the halyard more than the sheet
Sure.
in order to make that sail work.
I hate that
Yeah.
sail, but we use it because everybody's sailing it. But
The lemmings
I
over
think
the
it
cliff.
sucks. Well, it's a tough sail to get set up.
Yeah,
Where we use the medium,
right.
whatever it is.
My experience, that
Then I
sail
love
is way more adjustable than any other sail in
The
the
180
bag.
full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the difference between full and flat on that thing is enormous.
It's
Sure.
the weirdest sail, Terry.
So,
I can't explain why because I'm not a sailmaker.
But remember, right, draft aft is pointing, not power.
Yeah.
So if you're sailing with big scallops,
it's back there.
you're going slow,
Yeah.
right? Pull the scallops out first. Get the boat moving up to speed first. Because pointing is real. On this lake in the Yngling, pointing's an afterthought. You don't get to point. J70, you don't get to point. East Scallops, you don't get to point. It's speed, speed, speed all the time, right? There are a couple of boats. J24s, you get to point because they have a big Genoa, right? But outside of that, you know, boats with big overlapping head sails get to point a little bit. Boats without them, it's rumble mode 70% of the time when you're driving. All right? So that's a couple
Super
hours in.
interesting.
Let's take a break. Let's get
Yeah.
some sandwiches.
God, this is
Gary,
great.
This has been fantastic. This has been good.
Good. Glad you guys are liking it.
So aren't we all using that? We're all using that 180 full, aren't we?
Well, most are because we're lemmings. You're right, and I don't know.
I'd be willing to bet on that 180 sail
No
in,
sales.
when it's light on Minnetonka and the Angry Jello powerboat chop is up.
That's expensive.
You pull that sail to the scallops out and you'll find second and third gear in the boat. All of a sudden the
I
boat will
think that
jump.
I think you're right.
All of a sudden it'll jump. Now, are you going to do that at the expense of pointing? Yeah, but remember it's a boat race. Fast boats win races.
Right.
All right, what do we got for food here?
I tell you, you get the pick.
Oh, I'll take ham, whatever.
You take ham.
I'm a ham guy.
Yeah, we can find it. There's definitely a ham and stuff. They didn't actually have straight. They didn't have any turkey, so you can forget about that idea. That is a. Oh, that's very little sweet potato. God knows why that got in there. Carrot chicken. No, we got a ham here somewhere. BLT Club.
Perfect.
That's the closest they had.
That works. Thank you.
Okay, so the choices are Sonoma chicken, carrot chicken, more Sonoma. Take a seat, young man.
All right, thanks.
There's fewer of us now. Just in terms of important sport, England did beat Scotland at rugby today, 16-15.
Oh, very good.
God, I was
know
wondering
how
how
much
that
you care
was.
about that.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that all
And Arsenal
morning.
lost, and so did Chelsea, which is good.
Well, are you ready for the new rugby team, the Minnesota rugby team that's coming starting this summer?
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah, it's the women's rugby team.
Yeah, women's rugby is great to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Keith is on that team.
Well, actually,
Well,
Hey, do you identify as...
Dan's,
you know,
Dan's
I would
daughter-in-law,
consider transgendering, but it's
Yeah,
illegal.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
illegal
yeah,
now,
she was
so I can't.
Olympic.
Yeah, I know,
rugby.
right.
If it was legal, I would.
Okay.
Just to be clear,
Well,
because I already had twice. So you know.
All right.
I hope that wasn't being recorded.
We,
it was. Forever. Forever.
Yeah, what the hell.
Yeah.
There, it's
I missed,
talking.
I'm right here and I missed it.
There
we go.
Myself, so I don't think it's.
Alrighty. So now, we got a little heavy on upwind sailing. So I want to talk a little bit before we get into starting stuff, and then we'll run an abbreviated starting module. Because that module is usually 2 to 2.5 hours.
Oh my gosh.
And at that point, you know, the gray matter starts to leak out of your ears, and you wonder, you know, what's going to be for dinner, and
Ryan,
you
you
know.
coming up here?
Some of us don't have any of that left.
Yeah, right.
Nothing to leak.
Right? But I do want to cover some stuff on spinnaker trim. And here again, we're going to be really emphatic about your union card and marking stuff. And we talked about it a little bit already with the halyard, okay? But let's talk about this a little bit. So, let's make sure that we always hoist the spinnaker prior to the start.
The right way
Hey,
up.
but that guy's winning.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
I actually won a match race that way once. We were doing a qualifier for the Richardson Cup, which was the Great Lakes Match Racing Trophy, and you know you rotate boats, and the team that was before us disconnected the spinnaker, and unbeknownst to us, the tapes were all the wrong colors, and so when we reconnected it up and hoisted it, that's what it looked like.
That was beautiful.
But it was match racing, so all you had to do is beat this one guy. And the wind had shifted quite a bit, and so we were flying it like an ASIM, and we actually were able to, right as we came into the mark, break the overlap and make the turn, and then it was just a short beat up, and we were able to stay in front of them, and got to go to the Richardson Cup and won the Richardson Cup that year. So that was kind of fun. So, rule is, always put the spinnaker up before the start. Always, always, always. I don't care how windy it is. I don't care how scared you are. Put the stupid thing up, right? Especially if it's windy, because if you put it up when it's windy and you're scared, then the second time you put it up, it's not so scary, right? So put it up every single time before the race. All right? So this is what I see probably is the number one offense with all of you on the Yngling when I'm out there, is having your pole position, okay? There's a couple of things we're going to talk about. Pole too far forward and too far aft. But before we get to that, there's another problem, which I think is actually this one. Here's the pole is too high, right? There, the pole is too low. Yeah, now it's just right. How do we consistently get the pole to the correct height.
Mark our topping lift.
Union card.
Yes!
Union card. You mark the topping lift, right? You must have a mark on the topping lift. If you're coming into the finish on a downwind finish and your pole's up at the sky, I'm going to ask to see your union card. If you don't have it, you owe everybody on the race committee a drink.
Are you implying that it's always horizontal?
It's correct. And so we're going to get to that in a second.
Okay, so what?
We're going to get to what is correct here in a second.
Okay, got it.
Okay, we're going to go. So there's two ways. We'll start with pole height. All right. What you're really looking for are the two clues to be even. Okay. So here, the pole clue is higher than the guy corner is higher than the clue corner. So it's not even. Okay. Here, the pole is too low. So the guy clue is lower than the sheet clue. Okay? Here, it's about right. It's about right.
So is that the common thread?
That's what you're looking for, right?
Right.
You're looking for the clues to be even.
Right.
Yep.
I mean,
Now,
can't you do that visually, or do you really need a union card for that?
where are you going to start?
Where am I going to start?
Where are you going to set the pole when you hoist?
Oh, okay.
At the
I'm going to
union card.
determine that when I raise it before the race.
Set it to your mark,
Right.
and then if it's light air, the spinnaker droops a little bit and you'll have to lower the pole. If it's heavier air, the spinnaker is going to float a little higher and you'll have to raise the pole. But you need a starting spot.
No, okay.
And so always mark your topping lift, okay, and start there, okay? The other big failure that I see is, how long does it take you to set the pole?
2 hours?
I was going to say
At
hour and a
best,
half,
yeah.
right? That is
Depends if I have a crew or not.
completely unacceptable, right? So let's talk about a little boat handling here. How to set the pole, okay? As you're coming in on starboard tack, coming up to the windward mark, you raise the pole to your mark and just let it dangle. It's called a dangle set, all right? You just let it sit there and dangle. Then one person comes up off the rail, grabs the back end of the pole, and snaps it into the mast, and then sits back down. Okay?
Oh, you got it dangling with it out, not snapped into the mast.
Correct.
And you have it on the guy at that point?
Yep, the guy's preloaded,
Yep,
right?
yep.
And what you can do is as you're coming up, when you're on starboard, you can slide the pole back, put it in the guy, and then slide it forward. We call that preloading.
Yeah, okay.
So as we're on starboard,
It's preloaded.
Works really good when you don't put the guy in first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? So as you're coming up, like on the second beat, go ahead and say, as the crew, say, hey, can I preload the guy? Meaning, are we going to be here for a minute or are we going to attack right away? Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, go ahead. Slide it back, load it in. Good. Don't get off the rail, because on the rail is hiking and hiking is fast, right? So now the guy is preloaded in the end of the pole, all right? We're coming up to the windward mark on starboard, and we pull it to the mark, and then we just sit up, reach forward, and we always hold the pole within the last 3 or 4 inches of the pole. You never hold it in the middle like this. Why?
Tippy.
Can you get it?
Sure.
Versus
Eventually.
there. All right? So always hold it at the very, very end of the pole. All right? Last 3-4 inches. Okay? So hoist it to the mark, grab the end of the pole, reach up and go snap, and snap it in there. Well, I can't snap mine in. Change the ends. Right? There are 2 types of ends. The type of end that has a little lever in it that you can quick snap it in. If your crew and your regular crew on that boat, and you have the non-snap in ends where you have to open it, get it in, and then close it, take your drill out the rivets, buy new ends, because it's your kitchen. You're the one that gets yelled at. Buy new ends, get the quick snap in ends, all right, put them on, and your life will be better. Because the best day in a Fort Acker's life is when you don't get yelled at. And having the right ends on your pole will keep you from getting yelled at. Yeah.
Is there a better up or down?
Yes, always jaws up.
Jaws up.
Always jaws up.
Jaws up.
Right. Because if you go jaws down and you pull the trip line, what happens? Comes out of the pole.
Sure.
Now it's like, oh, I gotta start the whole thing over again. So always jaws up.
Wait,
Always.
when you say jaws up,
Like this.
So it's open.
It's
till
a
down.
U, not an N.
Yeah, it's a U.
Like that.
okay, but so now though, if it's gonna drop, then when you release it, it's gonna drop. The gravity's gonna bring it down, right?
The pole.
No, this is the pole.
Yeah.
It's on a line.
Right.
Like this. It's not going anywhere.
But it's got a claw, sheath claw.
Right. And that's the quick end, right? So there's the one that has the just the pin that goes across like that, right? And then there's other ones that have the little catch lever that go in like that, and that's the one you want with the catch lever.
So
Right.
you're pushing it up to snap
You
it
just
in.
snap it in.
Okay.
It's a snap in end.
But for what it's worth, every boat I've sailed was like that, except the Yngling. And all the videos of the Yngling, including the Olympians, world champions, are all jaws down. I've no idea why. Just a matter of fact. I can't explain it either.
To me though,
But
it
it
can't fall
doesn't-
out. It
yeah,
can't
I don't
fall
know.
out
Right.
complete when it's-
The
when it's-
problem is here, if you hit that trip line on Lake Minnetonka, you know, there's not enough wind to, it's going to drop out. Go jaws up. Do me a favor, go jaws up for a season, then go jaws down for a season and come back and tell me.
No, it's easy to change.
Yeah, it's easy to change.
And also, all the Ynglings, they're all about however many degrees this is up. 5 degrees up or something.
Then set your mark there.
Yeah, none of them are straight out. All the theory is straight
Yeah,
out.
everybody carries their pole.
Everybody carries their pole high.
The only
Then that's
reason
where
I
your
think
mark
we
should
do
be
that
set.
is
Don't know
because
why, but they
Christine
do.
does.
Well, because that's where your clue heights are.
Yeah.
If you're carrying your pole up, that means that that's where the clues are even.
If that's why you're carrying them, that's right.
So as you're sailing downwind, get the pole where it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
right? So your clue heights are even, and then mark it.
Well, and then the shoulders are square at the top of the
Right,
chute,
we're
too.
getting to that.
Okay.
We're getting to that, okay? So the first thing is pole high, pole low, about right. And you mark that with the topping lift, all right? This is the number one problem I see. How far do you pull the pole back? Well, somebody says that it's supposed to be perpendicular to the wind. Well, how the heck do you see that? Well, some people put a telltale here, but can you see?
Usually that telltale's wrapped
If this
around the
telltale's
line.
like this, is that perpendicular? Is that perpendicular? Is that perpendicular?
You put it on the pole.
That's what I'm saying. You put it on the topping lift. You still can't see it, not accurately. So this is the way I want you to check it. All right. You want to look, draw a line coming off the pole and going straight up to the shoulder. Right. If your shoulder, all right, and this line, this clue or leech, actually, if the luff of the spinnaker is kind of in line with that line, you're about right. Okay? If you have the pole too far back,
Can you move to the other side?
Yep.
We can't.
if you have the pole too far aft, here's the line, and you see how the spinnaker's leaning in? It means the pole's too far back. Here, conversely, here the pole's too far forward, and this luff of the spinnaker goes out away from the boat. This is the number one problem I see with all of you. All of you. Because the problem is what happens in this condition, right? Well, when the spinnaker starts to curl, right, I have to move the pole forward or trim the sheet, right? Well, the problem is, with the pole too far forward, this top becomes unstable, right? It's kind of the Mae West syndrome. It's too top heavy, right? And it can't stay inflated. And it's going to move around. And it's going to collapse. Then you go, oh, I got to push the pole forward and trim the sheet. And it makes it worse. And then worse. And then worse. And you end up with this condition. And the kite's moving around like this. And the driver can't drive to it. And you're having a terrible problem. All because you're not recognizing this line right here. Okay? This is about right. Okay? That's right. This isn't quite so bad. Right? That's called strapped. Right? This is normal. This is strapped, meaning, and if it's heavy air, running with it strapped isn't so bad. Because you're flattening the spinnaker by pulling the clews apart. And a flatter sail develops more or less power. Less.
And it's more stable.
And it's more stable.
Yeah.
So if it's windy and the boat's rolling around like this, go ahead and strap it. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
What's the worst scenario? Windy like this.
Yeah.
Pole's too far forward. Now the top of the spinnaker is completely uncontrollable and it's rolling the boat around from right to left. And the driver can't drive the boat because the boat's moving around, and you will broach a Yngling.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Been there.
They don't broach like a old IOR boat, but you know.
It goes.
Oh yeah. J70 will broach too, but when it goes, it's kind of explosive when it goes. It's like fine, and then all of a sudden the rudder stalls and it goes whap.
Nice.
Yeah. So this is what, if I want you to take anything away from downwind sail trim, it's this slide right here.
That's
All right?
Right.
Because every single one of you do this 90% of the time.
Thank you very
90% of
much.
the time. And because you get a little bit of curl, and you're like, oh, pull forward, trim the sheet. Now it's getting worse. And then it curls some more. Oh, pull forward, trim the sheet. Oh, now it's getting worse. Pull, and then you end up with this, and it's completely unsaleable.
Guilty as charged.
Everybody is, right?
All of us. You're
Every
right.
single one of you. I sit there in the race committee and just go, oh no.
What a
Right?
bunch of knotheads.
I'd rather see you this. Strap it. So, which leads to one of my favorite jokes. And that is, when you're trimming this spinnaker, never blow the guy. Never ease the guy. Ever, ever, ever. Right? Except in extreme, you're talking to your skipper like, okay, we got to turn up. Okay, fine. But don't ease the guy until you see this condition. Right? Where the pole's out here and the spinnaker's pulling in like this. Because this is stable. Okay? And it's fast. Not as fast as this, but this is awful. This is terrible. It's uncontrollable, right? The spinnaker's wallowing around, and you have no control over it. And my analogy is, instead of you walking the dog is walking you, right? And so, when it gets some curl, don't ease the guy. Trim the sheet. Trim the sheet. Get the curl to stop. Okay, and then assess. Am I strapped? Now look at this leech profile here, or luff profile. Am I strapped? Okay, yep, I'm going, and ease a little bit. The other thing too is, when you're trimming the kite and you're holding both in the end, in your hands, together, which one pulls harder? The guy, the pole side, right? That's power. That's where you're getting your downwind speed, is power. You can feel it in your hands. Right? The guy pulls like 4 or 5 times harder than the sheet side. And if you ease the guy, power goes away. Boat gets slow, boat gets crabby and unsaleable. It's the worst scenario possible. Right? So, when in doubt, do not ease the guy until you are so tight on both that you got to ease them both and go from strapped to normal. And then look at this line coming off of there and sort of judge it. Okay? But if you're seeing this, all right, you're not going anywhere. The boat's uncontrollable. It's slow because there's no pull on the guy. And this far left scenario is a majority of you a majority of the time. And if you take anything away from this seminar, it's this. Pull the pole back until you get strapped and then let it forward just a little bit. Just a little. Okay? Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
If I remember right, there's... Okay. There's one other thing I want to talk about, and that's the hoist. Right? So we're coming in the windward mark. We practice this dangle set, right? Because we practice it before the race, right? Pull it to the mark, run up, snap it in, sit back on the rail. We're ready for the hoist, okay? We come around the mark, right? We ease the sails a little bit. We're getting ready, getting the spinner kind of out of the box a little bit. They maybe get a little halyard up. We round the offset, kite goes up. Halyard gets made, and the kite just goes, sits out there and flogs
Is that so?
for like a day and a half, right? And you're pulling on the guy, and the sheet never gets trimmed.
That's because you didn't use your union card to mark the sheet. Where
Bingo! Oh, you get a high five for that. Absolutely.
Oh, you are
Absolutely.
Such a show off.
Oh, so now I'm going to expect that from you.
Yeah, well, we do that.
Yeah, we do that.
So what I want you guys to do,
Yeah.
put a piece of tape
Yeah,
on the sheet side
yeah,
and cleat it.
yeah.
Right.
So now what happens is as you're rounding the offset, you're hoisting it up. By the time the transom clears the offset, you're made at the top. And all you do is one big yank on the guy, and it goes poof and fills. Right?
Yeah.
And you're off to the races.
Yeah.
Versus having it just kind of...
Because the sheet's already, we even changed the cleats in our boat because they wouldn't stay well. in
You
those
are
markets.
such a show off.
Well,
Just settle
because-
down.
We go around the market, the sheet's not cleated. Gosh.
And it's just sitting there going...
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
else
And the boat's going slow, and the thing is,
cleated too tight.
I'd rather have it cleated too tight than not cleated
Yeah,
at
at
all.
least it's pulling.
At least it's pulling,
Yeah.
right? So what if it's a little strapped? It's running at 50% or
Doing
60%
something,
horsepower versus 0, right? And it fills right away. One of the things that you want to think about or look for is easy places to grab boat lengths, right? And the easiest place to grab boat lengths are at the corners, at the marks, okay? And we're going to talk about that for a little bit right now, all right? So as we come up to here, we have the pole already set, okay? If we're coming in here, right, we can hoist the pole,
Yeah.
dangle it from here, tack, and set it quick. Okay? So we can dangle set it from port. Just pull the line to our mark, right? We come up here. Now the pole is already set, right? We start the hoist. Maybe if the wind's a little behind us.
It depends on where the race committee sits.
Well,
The
those
soft
guys,
stuff,
you can't
they
trust
are
a thing they do,
bad.
I know, right?
know.
So if the race committee has been in air and it's a little behind you, you can round this and set right away,
Yeah.
right? Which if it's a right-hand shift, you want to do, all right? For a couple if it's to the left, yeah, get the head out, maybe cheat the guy around a little bit, keep it kind of in a ball in there So by the time you get to here, right, you're hoisting. By the time you're here, you give the guy a yank. Poof, you're sailing. Yeah.
On the dangle set idea, I'm trying to picture it. I'm picturing in my mind. As you have used that over the years, is there ever a situation where the pole is kind of out of control or you've caused damage?
Yeah, but there's nobody up there.
Okay.
There's nobody up there.
No damage to the back.
I mean, if you're on a 50-footer and you got 3 bodies up there, it's a different animal. But, but on a Yngling,
and the back of the main and all that
yeah,
stuff.
don't worry about it.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. Don't
You
worry
know,
about it.
you can have your pole set coming in on starboard and find out you have to tack because you didn't make the mark. The pole doesn't do anything. You tack, it just
Well,
it's
when
over
it's
there,
sitting
and then
down,
you
yeah.
go around.
Right.
When it's dangling over the foredeck.
Yeah, it's just dangling above, in the center, just on the side, not in the center, but, in
The center
between
is
the
on the
shrouds
main
and the
and
mast. It's just dangling there.
Just sitting
It's
there.
not going anywhere.
Right.
And it's not low, so it's not in danger of going in the water and
Right.
doing that kind of stuff. That's not a problem. You can just, as you're coming in on port here, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing the dreaded tacking inside the zone, right? Just dangle it.
Yeah.
Just pull it up.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's not going anywhere.
Sure.
And to JD's point, if you're coming in here and you have the pole set, you're like, oh, we're not making the mark. You can tack, and the pole will just sit out like
sit out
that.
there.
It'll be fine.
I mean,
It's not going anywhere.
There's a guy in there though, right? I mean,
Doesn't matter,
it's-
yeah.
Well, my point is not. Both ends aren't free. One end has a line in it, which is kind of keeping it in
Right.
position anyway.
So, interestingly enough, there's a guy at Wayzata that has a soling, right? And he races single-handed in
Yeah,
Perth.
I love him. I've
Ernie
seen
Wortherly.
it, yeah.
I love Ernie. He's a pilot. He takes me out in his little Piper Cub a couple of times a year. He's a buddy of mine. He sails with the pole out like that the whole race
Yeah.
because he's single-handed. That way he never has to set the pole. So he's cruising along on port. The pole's hanging out like dirty laundry. It's the silliest thing you've ever seen. But so don't worry about pull it to the mark, and then when it's time, set it. All right. If the wind is forward, meaning it's a left-hand shift, just be ready. And then as soon as you start to turn down, hoist it, pull the guy, poof, you're sailing. Because you've cleated the sheet side. If the wind is to starboard, like this, all right, I want you to set right away. Set right away. Why? Because what's the long jibe now?
The other one.
The other one. So you're going to round this mark
You have time to judge.
and jibe. And you can do that if the kite's already up. And now you're on the long jibe to the mark. Now, something that is a 5,000 level practice is doing a jibe set. Right? Where you don't have the guy preloaded. You dangle set and then pull the pole to the port side of the boat, set it, and then as you round, you're hoisting and doing a jibe
Yeah,
set.
because sometimes we'll not even put the pole out because
Right.
we're trying to determine. Yeah.
You just throw it
That's
out
another
there
way to
and
do
go,
it.
Yeah.
If you're not sure, feel free to come around this mark, right?
Yeah.
Where's my sheet?
You know, because you can go dead down and get the chute up, and it's pretty
Yeah, I
stable.
mean,
And then-
come around this mark and set it. We call that a topless set, meaning there's no pole.
Yep.
Right? Do a topless set, and then as long as the big key if you're doing a topless set is the driver has to drive the boat underneath the kite.
Right.
The kite's over here, turn to it's over here. The kite's over here, turn underneath.
Right.
Right? Drive the boat under the kite. Because if you don't, bad things happen. Right?
Bad thing.
Bad things happen, and then there's yelling and mashing of teeth and all that kind of stuff. But it's totally fine to do a topless set. In the J70, because it's an ASIM boat, we actually will start the hoist coming in here, and then once we get to here, we actually jibe the asim kite as it's hoisting here, and then
Makes sense.
yeah, but it's an asim, it's a different animal, right? So, but the big key here is low-hanging fruit, okay? Big gains to being here, with the kite set versus this guy not, right? And the difference here might only be a boat length, but in 2 minutes,
It's a lot.
it's 6.
Yep.
Because it's easy to get the boat to 4 knots. It's hard to make it go 4.5. It's really hard to make it go 5, and it's impossible to get it to go 5.5. And if you're doing 5.5 and he's doing 4, tack or jibe recovery time comes into play, right? And that's low-hanging fruit. That's soup. The faster you can get the kite up, the faster the boat accelerates, and the faster you'll be compared to your playmates. And that's something that you should practice before every race, every single race. Put the kite up, put the pole up, take a second. Okay, stop. I see the sheet isn't cleated. Oh yeah, sorry. Make a checklist, right? Are the pole to the mark? As you're coming in on starboard, right? Is the pole set to the mark, the topping lift? Is the sheet cleated? Right? Come up here, do your hoist, give the guy a yank, you're off to the races. All right? It's simple, easy, but you do have to practice it. You got to go out and do that. And it's totally okay to, while you're out here, you have a terrible set. Like, okay, stop, guys. All right, let's take it down. We're going to do it over. Right? I did this last week. I was down in Tampa coaching J70s, and we were practicing jibe sets. We did it 6 times. Yeah. We'd set it, say, okay, guys, take it down. Let's do it again. We'd take the kite down, tack over, come back, round the mark, round the offset, jibe set at the offset. Oh, it got wrapped into hourglass. What happened there? Okay, this didn't happen, that didn't happen, that didn't happen. Let's try it again. Do it, repeat it, okay? But this is huge because this is 6 boat lengths. 6. Okay? So, next is the jibe. Okay? This is a perfect jibe. All right? Pole's here. We trip the pole. All right? You want to trip the mast end and then the sheet end. All right? And when you trip the sheet end, right, you pull the trip line, you pull it off the mast, right? And then you lift up and rotate the pole 90 degrees. And that'll pop it out the end. So you're not trying to, can't get it out, right? So trip off the mast, raise the mast end of the pole up, and rotate forward, and it'll pop out the end. Okay?
That was the argument Ingalls gave me for jaws down, because you got way more.
Yeah, all you got to do is rotate it.
Yeah, well,
rotate it 90
but
degrees.
Julie would never
pop
be
right
able
out.
to lift it up.
You don't even have to lift it.
Enough.
If you trip it and turn it 90 degrees, it'll pop right out.
I don't think she can do
Rotate it forward, not back.
Is that based on the type of mechanism you have?
No, it works for either one.
Yeah.
Works for either one. No. Works for either one. No.
So Engels told you jaws down, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't do jaws down. Jaws down sucks.
Well, we're Yinglings. We suck.
Yeah. All right. So the big key is trip the pole and run the boat topless.
Yep.
All right. When the boat is running topless,
Stay under the floor.
it's the driver's job to keep the boat under the kite. And I can't tell you how many times I see, like, oh, then the boat makes this big, huge turn like this, and the main's like that, and the kite's over here like this, and cats and dogs sleeping together. This is not a speedy turn. You want to do this with control. It's a nice arcing turn, like this, all right? Constant rate of turn is what you're looking for in the helm, all right? If things get screwed up, doesn't come off, the pole doesn't come out, whatever, stop the turn.
Yeah,
Just
you
stop
can
the
just
turn.
Keep
Keep the boat under the kite. Wait for your crew to get the pole undone. All right. Once the pole comes undone, what's going to happen is the kite's going to want to go to that side of the boat. It's going to want to hide behind the mainsail. All right. So be a little careful of chasing it. Right. Be a little careful of chasing it. But you do want to just try and keep the boat underneath the kite.
We were always waiting until we're I would always wait until we were directly downwind before I start anything with the pole, taking the guy off or taking
That
the
would
pole
be the 1,000 level version.
off. I guess that's where we're at.
That's fine. But what you want to think about is as the boat starts its turn, right? The kite is going to want to float because you're turning this way.
Right.
The kite's going to want to separate from the boat.
Right.
Bang, trip. Right?
Okay.
And then what's going to happen is the kite's going to wobble over to this side, right? The boom's going to come over and it's going to start to wobble back, and that's when you reconnect the pole. But let's talk about pole. That's like 3,000, 5,000 level. That takes crews that you've been sailing with for a number of years. And you've got a timing system down of this rate of turn. You know how fast your crew is in getting the pole.
And the rate of turn is never the same.
Yeah, right. So in that case, that's trip the pole when your DDW is fine.
Right.
But then when you do that, you have to stop the turn.
Yes.
You have to
That's
stop
true.
the turn.
Right.
Because if you keep going, then it ends up like this.
Right.
And you're trying to put the pole in over here, and it doesn't work. Right? Which brings me to the next problem. Why can't the crew get the pole to the mast?
I'm trying to remember every time.
They're not strong enough.
Right. Don't you eat your Wheaties before the race?
Or you're not tall enough.
Or you're not tall enough, or you're not smart enough, or you're not cute enough, no. It's all the helmsman.
God, yes, I can. Yes,
It's all the helmsman. Because what's happening? What's happening here?
Yeah,
Spinnaker's over behind the mainsail,
Super tight.
and the boat's hot,
Very powered up.
right?
Yeah,
The boat's really, really hot.
right.
All right. And what does everybody do here to try and you've got it the pole in the guy's side,
So the guys say, ease the guy,
and you ease the guy, and what
Then
happens?
the chute goes
It gets
further.
worse.
Yeah, right.
It gets worse.
Right.
Now there's no way in hell you're gonna get that. Just ease the guy and it'll go. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
What do? Turn down.
the damn boat.
Turn the boat. Now, when you turn the boat, the spinnaker's going to release. Because the spinnaker is going to sort of lag behind the turn a little bit,
Yeah.
right? And so if your crew can't get the pole to the hole, as I call it, right? Then give the boat a yank down, right? Don't ease the guy. Never blow the guy.
I'm
Right?
always telling the city on strong winds, just keep the boat.
Just keep the boat under the kite.
Yep.
Right? Because what happens, and also kind of what happens is the boat starts its turn, right? The main flicks over and it forces the boat even more, right? Versus when the main comes over, as the main's coming over, you have to turn back down
Yeah.
like this. It's called an S-jibe.
Yeah, because
Right.
the center of effort's moving out on the boat.
Well, you're getting a burst of energy and it's wanting to spin the boat up, right? And if the boat's already in the act of turning and the boom comes over, it really wants to spin it. Versus when the boom comes over, right? Turn back down, right? Now your spinnaker trimmer can get the pole into the hole, right? But if you can't get the spinnaker pole connected, it's because A, you eased the guy, or B, you didn't turn downwind.
Or Julie didn't do
Or
enough
Julie
weight.
didn't do her job right, damn it. Right? And I talk about this, and everybody that's a four-decker goes, yes! Right?
Yeah.
It's the skipper's fault. It's not my fault, but I get yelled at, right? Just ease the guy. That makes it worse. That makes it worse. What do you want to ease? The sheet. The sheet. Ease the sheet and turn down. Ease the sheet and turn down. Then bang. You'll get it connected. We're like this. Now turn up. Now we can start to engage. Because sailing dead downwind is slow.
So, on the set where you have your mark on your sheet, I mean, no, where you're.
Yeah, on the set.
So
Yep.
is that mark based on being dead downwind? Is that where
I do it broad reach.
Broad reach?
Just what I do is sailing along, minding our own business, clues are even, kite looks happy, cleat it, mark it.
Right. Okay.
VMG mode. Because VMG, rumble, and pinching, or in downwind it would be heading, right? Same applies, right? So we'll get into that for a second.
Are we still talking about Julie?
Just like in upwind, we have 3 modes going downwind. Rumble, meaning poles forward, the boat's higher on the breeze, and the boat's accelerating, right? VMG, which is our velocity made good to the mark, right? And this mode we call soak mode. We're trying to soak down, right? So if our target boat speed is, say, 6 knots going downwind, and we're at 6.3, 6.4, head down, pull back, turn the boat down, soak mode until you get down to that 6.0 number, and then back to VMG, right? If you get into the 5.7, 5.6, 5.5 number, back up to rumble mode, right? Turn up, pull forward just a little bit, because remember, you don't ease the guy, right? And especially if you're rumbling, you're turning it more into an upwind sail than a downwind sail, so you want it a little flatter. And so leaving the pole and just pulling the sheet side isn't bad. Isn't bad. Because you're just flattening things out. Exactly, right? So rumble mode, get your boat speed back up to targets at 6.0, and then back to VMG mode. One thing that when you're in soak mode, never let the clue pass the head stay. Okay? So don't do that. Don't do that. Because now you're exhausting energy through the boat that you're not collecting. Okay? That makes sense?
Yeah.
So pull to that. And in soak mode, kind of what I do when I'm trimming is I just put the clue right to the head stay, and I'm just trimming the guy in and out. Just trimming the guy. So, and what I'll even do is I'll step to the guy side, which makes the boat roll and turn downwind, and give a tug on the guy, and the boat goes zing! And then I'll step back to the sheet side, ease the pole forward. The driver has nothing, they have nothing they can do. If I'm moving on the boat's turning, right? And ease the guy forward, get the boat back in rumble mode, step, roll, tug, right? Just like on the upwind where it's rumble mode, pinch mode. Rumble mode, pinch mode. Same's true here. Rumble mode, soak mode. Rumble mode, soak mode. All of a sudden, and you've seen it, guys all of a sudden just do that to you. Like, what the hell did they do? They just rumble soaked you. Okay? All right, last thing on the downwinds, and then we're going to get to starts.
So when you move your weight, you're leaning the boat to windward, correct?
Or look,
When
yes,
it's moving,
to make
yeah.
the boat turn downwind, you roll the boat to windward.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just making sure.
Yep.
I said, yeah.
And interesting, we on our boat, just kind of fun side note, we have lots of little, I call it speaking Navajo. Right? So Navajo is a hunting language. It's a Native American hunting language. Chakahe means we're going to go to that field and get as many buffalo as we can and feed our tribe for a week in 3 syllables. Okay? So what you want to do is limit the commands you're making to short, meaningful sentences. Okay? Or not sentences, syllables. Right? So when we're cruising along like this, and we get hit with a puff, right? What do we want to do?
Down.
Turn downwind, right? Do I want to take the helm and go?
Yes. Totally.
Don't listen to him, right? You want to use your weight to turn the boat,
Yeah, baby.
right?
Yeah.
So on our boat, because I'm a bit colorful, we call it puppy. It's a puppy hike. Because what does a puppy do? He stands up on the edge of the window and sticks his head out the window and goes, and then sits back down.
Yeah.
So the crew that's sitting here on the leeward side, Puff will come on and I'll say, puppy, and 1 or 2 people go like this, bump the boat, and then sit back down. And the boat goes zoom. And when that happens, the spinnaker trimmer pumps the guy, gives it a nice big tug, and the boat goes like a watermelon seed between your fingers.
Nice.
Right?
Squirts ahead, huh?
Squirts ahead, like a watermelon seed. Just like that. And then soak mode for 3, 5, maybe 7 seconds. Then back to VMG. Right? Maybe even a little rumble mode. Get the boat to bite again. And then puppy, squeeze it. Right? That rumble soak mode. Okay? Any questions on that?
No, puppy's 2 syllables. I just say down.
Dog.
Dog.
The
Yeah.
proper term is squish.
Squish.
Squish is
excellent.
when you're sailing with the pros, they say squish and they look at me saying puppy and they're like, really, Foster?
You are such
You
a...
Minnesotans, you're so different. Right? All right. Here's our mark. We're coming into the mark.
This is the downwind mark.
This is the downwind mark. When do we take the kite down?
20 boat lengths ahead.
Sooner than you think. Low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit. If you take the kite early, right? Yeah, the boat slows down a little bit, but everybody's ready for the turn, right? If you take the kite down here, right? Well, by the time you do it, you're here. The problem is, this is 1, 2 boat lengths, 3, 4, 5. 5 boat lengths. How much would you give for 5 boat lengths on a windward beat, sailing next to JD?
I give up Julie.
Right? Right? So my point is probably the biggest problem I see, and I get it. the eyebrow grows over and the fangs come out. You know, the Cro-Magnon competitor in us comes out. And, we're going to take that kite down at the very last second. And you just cost yourself 5 boat lengths by being 2 boat lengths behind the mark. Right? Versus...
You might have lost 1 compared to...
Not even.
Not even.
Because here's what happens, and here's what I want to talk about lured mark roundings now. Okay? Again, it's low-hanging fruit. Right? Big gobbles of boat lengths to be made up here, right? And the biggest problem I see with most of you is you are spending 3 to 8 boat lengths of mistakes here. One is kite's coming down way too late. Take it early, all right? And what taking it early does is it gives you the ability to make a tactical rounding, all right? And this is something that you have to practice, all right? For those of you that race cars, you know what an apex is in a corner, right? Mm-hmm. That's the most inside point of the corner. The apex on the turn is not the mark. Okay? It's over here someplace. Okay? Because if you come in here and turn the boat's going to slide to here. Right? Now, this is assuming that you've taken the kite down early, you have control of the boat, everything's fine, you're going to slide to here, versus Terry's going to come in, and I'm going to come here, and my apex is here. Okay? Two boat lengths. Justin, how you did your turn. So that boat length that you lost, or half a boat length that you lost by taking the kite down early, you just made double that back by looking at a spot in the water away from the mark and carving that turn. So when you come by and you're the skipper sitting right here, you can touch the mark with your union card.
But don't touch it.
Touch it. If you touch it with your union card, I give you a pass on that.
No, okay.
Especially if the tip is off. And I tell you what, if I see black marks on the mark, I'm going to come by and give you guys high fives.
I'm doing it. I am doing
That's fine, right?
What is taking the kite down early? Boat length.
Don't wait though.
You know, like I said, it's a timing thing. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop?
I don't look.
The answer is 3.
Anyway, okay.
But it depends on the crew. It depends on how windy it is. It depends on a lot of things, right? If you're gonna err on the fact of taking it sooner than later. Okay.
I think to add to that, it's positioning.
That's next.
Okay.
That's next.
Then never mind. I have nothing to say.
Nothing. All right. What's the other? So this is something that when I was sailing a lot with Gordy, God, we would practice this at the little marks at the channel buoys in front of the lighthouse, like incessantly. And Gordy like, do it again. I'm like, really, Gordy? Come on. We're in the E-boat. We're practicing tactical rounding. He's like, nope, do it again, Terry. Right? The thing is, it's so easy to come in here and do this. Right? You're better than you were. You didn't come in here like that and slide to here. But it's amazing to see how far out you have to go this way to make the carve. And so you are close hauled when the bow touches the buoy. Right? That is the goal.
So the practice is figuring out that distance.
That distance.
X and
where is that X?
That magic spot.
Where is that
is
X?
Something you can practice all by yourself. Just go out and practice.
Go out as you're sailing out from lighthouse
till you get it.
You don't even need the kite up.
Nope.
Just turn downwind and okay, we're gonna make a rounding around here. Yep. And if you come by the mark and go, that's slow, right? Come down here, figure out where that apex is, hit the apex, which is out here. Everybody understand what I mean by apex? Yeah. The center of the turn, right? Right? first derivative for those of you that like calculus, right? Bottom of the curve.
None of us like calculus.
Yeah, so try
Right.
that
That's what engineers
differently.
did.
You want the boat close hauled when the bow touches the boat with a energy conservation turn. Meaning you're not coming in here and go, oh yeah, I did it. Right? Come in and a nice, gentle, energy conserving turn, bang.
You're assuming nobody's around. We're
Yeah,
in the
we're
world
gonna get
of
into
nobody
tactical
there.
stuff in a minute, right? So the other problem that I see on this a lot is you get to the apex and the jib is trimmed in hard. What happens if the jib's trimmed in hard here?
No power.
Worse,
Worse
keel
than
stalls.
no- oh.
Because now what's happening is you're trying to turn this way, but the jib is pushing the boat that way,
Yeah.
and the keel under the boat is getting water that way around the keel, and the boat slides like a water slide. And so even if you have a really nice tactical rounding, you hit your apex, right, and you're here, but the jib's tight, you're going to start your turn up and the boat's just going to do this. You're going to end up here. Don't trim the jib at all, making the turn upwind. Let the boat come in on the main, let the jib bluff 100%, all right? And then once you're close hauled, give it a little spin, pull it in, right? On the J70, we have a little roller furling thing. We'll round the leeward mark topless, no jib. We'll round up because the boat will carve right up, and then you just give the sheet a little yank, goes unrolls like a lampshade, and you're off to the races, right? So, and the key is when you look back, 30 seconds after the rounding, is the leeward mark dead astern of you, a little windward of you, or a lot of windward? Right? And I know there's a bunch of times you guys have rounded here and you look back and the windward mark is not dead astern of you, but it's way upwind of that.
Yeah, right.
That's because you slid at the mark.
What about one that's below you?
Well, then you
Then you had an
then you
incredible
then you
round.
grabbed a muskie and had it tow you upwind.
That's what I did.
Right? But so that's the metric. That's how you grade your rounding. When you round that leeward mark, if you made a nice tactical rounding, you hit the apex without any jib trim, and you do a nice energy conservation carve at a constant rate of turn, and you hit close hauled right as the bow hits that mark, snap that jib in, and the boat goes like that. This is 3 boat lengths.
Yep.
3 boat lengths, right? Everybody good on that?
That's great.
No, that's excellent.
So we're sort of rolling with it here. So we're not gonna get into starting as much, but we're gonna get into mark roundings because this is another spot where there's a lot of confusion.
There's a lot going on there. Yep.
Okay.
There's a lot of confusion. Coming into the mark, we're going to just stay away from gates for the moment because the gate is the same. It's just making a right-hand turn versus a left-hand turn. So same rules apply. All right? What is the start of the mark rounding rule? When does that happen? JD?
3 boat lengths.
3 boat lengths. What happens at 3 boat lengths?
Overlap.
It's called the zone. 1, 2, 3. We're not to scale like draw like
I know, I see that.
right? 3 boat lengths.
For an
Okay.
architect, you're bothering me.
Yeah, right? So what happens at 3 boat lengths? you enter the zone, and a flash bulb goes off. Poof! And it takes a picture. And that picture doesn't change. Think about that. Once your bow hits 3 boat lengths, that picture doesn't change. So in this situation, when 1 hits the 3 boat length circle,
First.
huh?
First.
Well, just when they do,
Well, and if 3 hits it first, it's different, isn't it?
we're getting there.
Okay.
Because when 1 hits it, their flash bulb goes off. When 3 hits it, their flash bulb goes off. When 2 hits it, their flash bulb goes off. And each picture doesn't change. Right? So if 1 comes in like this, are they inside and overlapped?
Are we to scale?
No,
Oh.
not quite.
Well,
I'm running. I could treat it that way.
Then of course not.
Yes. So are we?
Yeah, 1's inside of 3 and 2.
There's our overlap line.
Yeah.
So they are inside and overlapped.
Yeah.
So they get room on everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Now. Three hits the zone. Boom. Picture goes off. Does 3 have to give room to 1? Yes.
Yeah.
Because 1 is inside and overlapped on 3. We're talking about boat 3 here. Right? So their flash bulb goes off. Every boat that's inside and overlapped gets room. Every boat that's not inside and overlapped is not entitled to room. Right?
Okay, I'm sorry, for us, novice here, can you define overlap again, please? Is that-
Draw a line off the back of the boat.
Okay, so if in that case 2 is not. But
2 is
1
not overlapped.
But one is overlapped to 3. Is that
One is overlapped with 3.
Okay.
Yep.
And as we talked about with Bruce last time, it doesn't matter how far out 1 is. If he's an A boat and he's coming 1,000 miles an hour, he's still overlapped.
Is 1 overlapped here?
Yes.
Are they inside?
No.
Yes.
They're inside.
They're inside and overlapped.
What do you say? Okay. Inside of what? Inside
They're
of
turning
3.
this way. They're on the inside of the turn.
Of boat 3.
We're turning. We're
Okay.
making a
Okay, I
left-hand
thought you meant
turn.
inside the zone. I thought you meant inside the 3.
No. They're as defined by.
They're inside the turn. They're inside 3. Yes, I agree with
Yeah.
that. But I thought you were talking about the zone. Okay, so.
So 3 hits the zone.
Right, 3 hits the zone.
3 hits the zone, and what happens?
Flash bulb.
Flash bulb.
Right.
That picture doesn't change
And that determines who he has to give rights to.
Yeah.
of who he has to get rights to.
And
So-
1 is
so-
2 miles out, but he still
But
has
if this
room.
is an A scow,
Yep.
and they're cruising in here, right? And you end up like this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have to give them room?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Right? Even though they're over here.
And that's a thing that I guess wasn't clear until we went through it last time. It's
Understand
great.
it either though. They're not in the 2 boat lengths.
They don't have to
It
be.
doesn't have to be. They're
Your boat 3.
Yeah.
Okay, what happens when your boat touches the zone?
you flash bulb.
Flash bulb. And you look at the picture. Your 3. Is green 1 entitled to room? No, they are outside. They're outside the turn, right? Is 2 entitled to room? No, they're outside. They're not inside and overlap. Is red 2 entitled to room?
No.
No.
They're outside.
Is green 1 entitled to room?
Yes.
Yes.
So really, the zone itself, the 3 boat lengths doesn't in itself tell you who has the right of way. It just tells you when your flash bulb goes off.
Right.
and then from that picture,
you
get room, you do not, you do
right,
not.
Right. So it's just the flash, the zone. It dictates when the flash bulb goes off. You see what the situation, who is inside, who has overlap, who's inside.
Right. So let's take a look at this scenario.
Can I make a clarifying comment here?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that the terminology which is helpful is to realize, yeah, you can be inside the zone, but you're outside of the guy. Meaning your boat is outside here, because we're using that term to say he's inside, so he gets inside room at the mark.
Right.
That's a different term than inside the zone.
Yes.
Two different.
Right. Well, the zone only matters when you touch it.
I think the rule is overlap, but
Right.
not overlap.
Technically, are you overlapped when you enter the zone?
If you're inside, outside,
There you
and
go.
overlap. I mean, there's two conditions, right?
Two conditions, inside and overlap.
Inside and overlap.
So here, is red one inside and overlapped?
Yes.
Yes. Is green one inside and overlapped?
Yes.
Yes. Is red two inside and overlapped? No.
It's inside, but it's not overlapped.
Not overlapped.
Right.
In order to get room, you have to satisfy both.
Right.
Is green two inside and overlapped?
Right.
No.
Okay. Understood. That's
You have rights
very
to be inside
simple
the
and
other
clears up,
So let's-
in my mind, everything.
So let's look at it from a
Right.
different
Say, I get
perspective.
room with the mark.
If I'm on boat
Inside
one,
of that
red
island.
one,
Red one.
then the boats
Yeah.
to the upper left are not inside and overlap. I don't have to give them rights.
Correct.
Right.
Oh, wait.
So they're overlapped.
Hang on.
Stop it.
Just seeing it was farther away.
Yeah, I know.
So always draw your line.
Right.
They're all inside.
Are you inside?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you overlapped? With the world.
Yes.
You're inside and overlapped with everybody, and you're on starboard.
Yeah.
And you're
As a
on
bonus.
starboard. Right?
Yeah.
And if you're this guy and there's a bunch of boats coming in here, I would be very vocal saying, I get room. You have to make room for me. I'm inside and I'm starboard. Get out of my way. Blah, 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 blah.
And I'm the race
Right, and
committee.
then all these guys
goddammit.
go like, oh my God, and you come in here, and we won't get into the
Yeah,
finance,
yeah,
but because
yeah.
you're starboard, you
Yeah.
can make a tactical rounding, but regardless, all right, so here we are, but you're entitled to this, all right? So, very powerful tool is to come into this lured mark on starboard, because you're inside and overlapped on the world, right?
When you say you're overlapped to the world,
Where's our overlap
all
line?
I know, but all the boats are ahead of your.
It means you're overlapped.
Okay. If that. Okay.
They're within that circle.
Okay, they're
of your
overlapped to you.
transom.
Yeah, they're okay.
Okay, but then, Brian, if this guy's transom is like this, they're not overlapped because the line goes off the transom.
Right.
Right.
Here, that's another good scenario, right? None of these guys are inside and overlapped. All right? Bang. Let's move the mark. We'll make it the flash bulb, right? Is that more to scale, or you have
Ah,
to?
it feels so much better.
I'm here to please, right? So here we are, right? He's inside, right? Or actually, it doesn't really matter. He's not overlapped.
None of the other boats have overlapped you.
Right. So you're entitled to room on everything here.
And those other boats can't ask you for anything.
No, right, because they haven't overlapped.
Right.
And if you're red 1 here, you want to look at green 1 and red 3 and look at him and go, no room, and point at him. No room. Because when that skipper looks at you and you're looking at him and you're pointing at him, he's like, oh, okay, I get it. I
So
don't
one
get
of the
room.
boats is beyond that line. So if you take boat 3 and you push it across the line in your position, so it's still
Outside.
He's outside.
okay. So he has to have
He's outside.
He's outside, right?
He's outside. So you have to be inside and overlapped in order to get room.
Yeah.
So you're red 1 here. You come here, no room, no room, no room. Right? You have rights to the world.
Right.
What do you want to do tactically?
Push him on.
No.
No. You want to get to
You want to do a nice tactical rounding,
Oh, yeah.
which means what? Take down early.
Well, you don't have the right to that, do you? You don't have the right to do it.
Yeah,
What do you mean?
you're on port tack.
Rule 18, inside outside supersedes port starboard.
Yeah, but when you get to the mark, the other boat's leeward.
Doesn't matter. You're inside overlap. Rule 18 supersedes port starboard supersedes rules 10, 11, and 12.
And you have to sail straight to the mark.
That's a tactical question,
So
right?
you can't do a tactical rounding.
So here, because you are all on the same board, right? You're allowed to do a tactical rounding. Because there was nobody overlapped with you.
Oh, so
When,
oh,
yeah.
okay, so there's nobody over. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the key is
Yeah.
when the flash bulb goes off, right? And I'm going to show you a scenario here, which happens a lot. One enters the zone, flash bulb, picture. They're entitled to room, and nobody else is. You point at them, no room, right? They're going to come down here, they're going to do an early douse, and they're going to hit this apex and do a nice round in like this. They get to the apex,
Yep.
this happens. Right?
Yeah.
Call your insurance broker.
Well, no, you just yell at bolts.
Oh, so-
Right?
What the hell are you doing
Now-
in there?
Yeah.
You had a really good rounding, right?
Yeah.
And you did a nice tactical rounding, which is, in the absence of other boats, proper course, right? Because that gets to your question, what's proper course, right? But these guys all stuck their nose in, right? Yeah, you can throw the flag at them. How many protests have been heard at Minnetonka Yacht Club in the 5 years?
One.
One, right?
Yeah.
This is club racing, right? So beware, because now the problem is you're on the outside of the wheel. You're going to slide. And even though you had room, you're there. And you've just taken your best downwind leg and had a clear ahead, no overlap mark rounding, and you threw it away because you didn't manage the traffic well.
So that's when you wouldn't do the tactical.
You wouldn't do the tactical
You-
rounding.
tight.
You are legally entitled to, but the problem is, unless
Yeah.
these guys all understand,
Well, even
going back to this,
even if they understand, they'll probably stick their nose in anyway.
they're going to stick their nose in
But
anyway.
as Bruce said last time, he said you have, 3 commands that you can say, and one is protest. And what you're saying is you followed, do your circle.
Yes.
You're not saying all those words, but
It's
so
Navajo.
you come around and one green sneaks in,
Mm-hmm.
protest, and you're not protesting, you're just saying, do your circle. You followed me.
Well, you're threatening, right? You're like, if you don't do your circle, I'm going to bring you to the room,
Yeah.
right? And the reality is, it's club racing.
It's club racing.
It's club
but the
racing, and you
reality
meet at the
is-
island afterwards,
Yeah.
and you're like, dude, you owe me a beer.
Well, or just do your circle.
Or
and,
JD,
and then you didn't
seriously,
get
this is the
screwed.
third time you've done this to me. Would you stop following me at the Lord Mark? Why are you doing
that?
that?
Sounds more correct.
Yeah.
And-
A third time? Oh, not a
Right?
third
There are
time.
so let's go back to this though. So this is a case of going back to here.
So if you got Keith coming in there and you go,
You got
"Wait a
red
minute,
one.
I'm not doing tactical.
You're-
I'm gonna
yeah,
cut him
just-
off."
You
Just
go hard right. You go
don't
hard
let
left.
this guy into
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Right? Point at him, say no room, and if he goes up here, yell, I told you, no room.
Especially when it's Cindy, okay? If you see Cindy, yell at her no room, okay? Because
Oh, I had a scenario, so look at this one. Coming in this way. This happens a lot. I'm red 1. I'm coming in. I hit the circle.
And those other 3 boats up there are not in play.
Oh yeah, they're in
Oh,
play.
okay, I didn't.
Oh yeah, no, these guys are all in play.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right, I hit the zone, flashbulb, picture. All right, I get room on all of these guys, and he does not.
Right.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all you guys, room, room, room. You, no room. You, no room. I'm like, okay. Comes into here. We do a nice early douse. We hit the brakes. These guys are going like this. This guy's not gonna, he needs to go here.
Yes.
Right? But the problem is, right, it's kind of a quagmire in here. Right? I mean, he has room on these guys. What the right thing for him to do is to fall in line behind me.
Yep.
Right? What ended up happening in this scenario, this was a guy that was a known offender.
A repeat offender.
Wasn't his first rodeo. He comes in here, and I went, close the door. No, I'm not. I had the rights for a tactical rounding, but I closed the door on him, and as my bow is touching here, I'm saying, no room, no room, no room. You effing right? Because
You
he's a repeat
friendly
offender.
fellow.
He had to go there,
Nice.
right? And then it's like up, up, up.
And then you did the whole thing so
That's
bad.
the last I saw of him. But what I want, the takeaway from this is the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Get the kite down. Hit the brakes. All right. Understand the flash bulb. Right. When the flash bulb goes off and the picture happens, all right. That's it, and it doesn't change. There's one more scenario that I want to go through on this, because I think this is going to be super helpful for you guys. We are green 2. Who do we give room to?
Yeah, everyone?
Yeah. Everyone.
The world.
Right.
The world. What do we want to do?
Stop.
Hit the brakes.
Throw out an anchor.
Hit the brakes, right? Because what's going to happen? These guys are going to come in. These guys are going to come in. These guys are going to come in. And they're all going to bunch and make this sloppy kind of thing. And they're all going to do a non-tactical rounding, right? And the smart person hits the brakes,
Goes around inside.
looks for their apex,
Yeah.
right? These guys all slide like crazy. You come in to here.
And even if you don't get inside, get on the transom of the inside boat, and you didn't give up any.
You're here.
There.
Yeah.
That's fine,
Yeah.
right?
You have the ability to tack off if you want. You know,
It all starts.
You're not down there.
How do you guys suggest hit the brakes? Just
That's exactly why I'm resetting the boats,
okay.
right? So we're green 2,
You don't have a
Right.
sea anchor?
right? You don't have a reverse button, right?
Spinnaker down.
Douse the kite early, right?
Oh, anticipate.
Anticipate,
Okay.
right? One of the things when I do on the water coaching is you want to think 15 seconds ahead,
Yep.
which is only 2 boat lengths,
Yep.
right? Depending on the boat.
Well,
Maybe 2.5.
more
Yngling
like
gets
2 hours.
6. Right? So think ahead. Douse early. Understand that these guys are all going to come in and be a wad of goo in about 15 seconds, right? The other thing you want to do is, do you want to turn up into here?
No.
No. Turn way over here. Turn away from the trouble. Let all of this play out like this. You can be here. This is totally fine, right? These guys are all going to come in here and lots of yelling and gnashing of teeth. You're going to come in like this, right? But the key is you're here at the zone. You do an early douse and you turn maybe as much as 90 degrees. if you do a little bit of a turn, you ain't slowing down. If you do a nice carve energy conservation turn, right, where you're carving to here, letting it play out, and carving back,
Keep your speed up. Interesting.
you got your speed. Because you're entering the engagement with energy. As long as you have speed, you're going to be able. You're not going to be limited tactically, right?
Wow.
You want to come in with speed. So do a nice, maybe as much as 90-degree carve turn away. Maybe the boom jibes, or maybe you have your crew hold the boom out over here, so you're by the lead like this, and just watch them. Don't watch where you're going. Watch them and watch this set up.
Yeah.
Listen into the yelling, and if this guy is late with his kite douse.
That's beautiful.
Oh, because he's going to be down here,
And
he's going to take the whole world with him, and you're going to do a nice energy conservation turn, hit your apex, carve up, bye-bye.
The first boat might not be late, but the second boat will.
Yep.
Because they're trying to get there.
The danger with this poach, all right, is this guy's going to go in here, he's taking him out, this guy gets clear.
Yeah.
And what he does is you're going
Shuts the
into
door.
here, he's going to do that to you, and now you're stuck.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
These guys all mess with each other. So that's another scenario of if you're this guy, break the overlap.
Yeah.
The whole key is breaking the overlap. Okay? Because if you're overlapped, you're now the outside of the world. Right? If you're hit the brakes, not overlapped, now you got to watch it, because if these guys come in and close the door, right? But if there's room, you can take it. Kind of a gutsy move, but worth it. And if you're this guy, just watch. Come in late, right? And if these guys are all sort of here like this, right? Coming in, nice tactical rounding, you're going to come in and you're going to end up like that. Energy conservation turn, enter the engagement with energy, hit the apex, nice carving turn, land it without jib trim, pull the jib in, and you're right here. And then in 30 seconds, the mark is right behind you. And now you can tack away, or you've got tactical options where these guys,
They're all screwed.
they're all in the exhaust.
Yep.
They're all in the exhaust, and I guarantee you, everybody's been in one of the red boats here.
That happens a lot.
Oh yeah. The rule is touch the mark when you go around it, and try and have as much speed as possible when you're doing it, right? And if that means doing a big carve turn out this way and then coming back later than you think, because what's going to happen if you carve away and then come back? What's happening to the boat as you're coming in?
Accelerating.
It's accelerating like crazy, right? And these guys are stopped, right? So make this further away than you think. And this apex that you've practiced a dozen times is further away than you think, right? And then you come in, make a nice energy conservation turn, bow to here, trim in, go.
Even if you're a boat length behind.
Even if you're a boat length behind, you're
number
way better
one,
off.
You're 10 boat lengths ahead of that clump that rounded. So give it time. Just let it develop.
Yep.
I think is what you're saying. If you are coming in a bad position, don't make it worse.
Don't make it worse, and make
capitalize
lemonade
it.
out
Yeah.
of lemonade.
Beautiful.
And the key is, it all happens here. Way early. Way early. Hit the brakes, carve around, and as you're doing this, watch. Look at it and go, do I come in yet? Come in. No, just patience, patience. Don't, because the trigger is, the eyeball grows over and the fangs come out and you're like, I'm going to stick my nose in there. And then you get overlapped with somebody, and then you're toast.
So I think removing the adrenal gland early is
Right.
the
Right?
situation.
Yeah, you leave the Cro-Magnon guy at home,
Yeah, right.
right? Which is hard to do.
That's Jake.
It's hard to do if he's dreading.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So when do you make your move? You see this clump. What are the indicators that say, make your move?
That's the dance.
Okay.
That is the dance. And you can do this 100 times in big fleet regattas and still come away going, I think I learned a little bit on that one. I came in a little too hot, a little too early.
Yeah, right.
Sailing the J70 down in Florida, we have 60, 70 boats on the line pretty regularly. So big fleet management is a big, big deal. And you get into these scenarios, and there's not 4 or 5 boats, there's
It's
12 or 14,
or more,
right?
yeah.
And, the rule is touch the mark when you go by.
When you say that, you're not saying literally. You're saying
You have the ability to
reach out.
and touch it.
Yes.
Well, we're
'Cause if you
allowed to
can do-
use our marker on
And
the
I'll give you that hall pass at Minnetonka.
So
If I
we
see a
should-
black Sharpie marker on there, I'll go.
So we should
But
tape
you
one.
initially
We should
have to-
tape one
you
on.
have to start
the,
No, you don't get a selfie stick.
Initials.
Yeah, I'll write my name on it.
Yeah, right?
As you're going so damn
You
slow.
stall when you do
Exactly.
it. So I think
It's fun.
the reason that I usually, in that situation, I usually go left is because of all these other boats that are, because when you go this way, all the boats to the right that aren't in the picture yet suddenly scream in on you. You with me?
Yep.
So, but
So you're talking about
I would
there's
usually
this
go-
quagmire over here,
there's another bunch of guys over
and then
here.
there's another bunch of guys over here like this.
So I go this way and then back.
If you're here,
No, if I'm there, so if I'm here, your suggestion is to go that way,
yes.
which I think is obviously what you do if there's not a bunch of guys here. If there's a bunch of guys outside the
Well, it depends on where you are. If you're here, that's one thing. If you're here, these guys are going to get there before you. They're going to come in and they're going to do this,
Yeah, of
and you're
course.
going to hit the brakes.
It's the
Wait
guy-
wait for the gap to open up.
Yeah, it's the guys who aren't in the zone who then decide to come in when they shouldn't.
Well, but they're going to be inside. If you're here, draw your line.
They're all got rights.
They're all inside and overlapped.
Yeah, so
They're going to have rights.
that's why I go left to get in front of them and then turn back.
This way to here.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, if you can do that, why even bother? You're clear ahead. You're going to beat them to the mark. Why spend the other extra distance? It's if you're here and you're bow to bow with these guys, right? If you go to here, now you're turning this way to turn this way to turn that way. And these boats don't like to turn. You're better off to go this way, let them do their turn, hit the brakes, come in late, right? And get to here.
Well, and then you're coming in on a reach.
Coming in on a reach with speed. Be careful here though, because if these guys are stopped, you've got energy,
Yeah.
right? And you come into here, you're in trouble. Because you're not allowed to do that.
Oh.
Right?
What?
Yeah.
All right. How are we doing on time here?
It's
Sorry.
3 o'clock.
It's 3 o'clock. All right. I'm going to gate 5 minutes because I want to talk about starting.
Okay.
Okay? Because y'all need some help here.
Whoa, whoa, that's hitting
That
below.
was
the belt.
harsh.
Making the Yngling fleet sound like a bunch of.
No kidding, Hicks or whatever.
It's not just you guys.
Oh, okay.
All right? Perf 1, Perf 2, Capri 25s. I mean, you ain't the only ones.
Yeah,
And you go in most yacht clubs in the country, and they do what's called the flying barge start.
I think I know what that is.
yeah.
The flying barge. Yeehaw!
That's it.
I'm assuming he's in all bobbing in the water with our sails.
Right? Here we are at 30 seconds.
Yep, we've all been there.
All of you. Every one of you. And it's I must say you're very Corinthian about it, because you let go ahead, you go ahead. You know, go ahead, go, that's just wonderful.
Bolt, can I go? Yes, please.
Please, go ahead, that's
Can I
fine.
head down
Bolt
on you?
doesn't
Yes.
say
That's
I
fine.
sailed with him for summer. He doesn't say that.
There is a couple of guys in the fleet who aren't Corinthians.
No.
Well, and that's my point with the flying barge, is it takes one guy, we're gonna use the black boat.
Ooh, evil black.
Ooh, the evil black boat. To do this. Right? What's he done? He stopped the stream.
Yeah.
Right? Is he in his legal rights to do that?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Right? And everybody parks up here like this.
Don't we call that Christine?
Right? Everybody blocks up like this. 10 seconds to go. I go bow down. I'm off. You guys are all screwed. The flying barge works when everybody is communist. Everybody gets a piece of the pie, right? Or socialist, or whatever you just want to call it. But the capitalist comes in there, takes your lollipop, and see you later. All right? So, the one thing I want you to take notes on about the start is there are 3 things that you need for a start, for a successful start. Okay? 1 is on time. You have to be on the line. All right? That's another problem I see with all of you. The gun goes off, and y'all are down here.
We're scared.
I know, it's
Because
scary.
you know why? It's people like you.
I'm the one
say,
like, come on, guys, let's go.
USA 350. Oh, shut up.
So,
That was fine.
rule number 1, be on time. Okay? Means on the line. Rule number 2, boat speed. Right? It's one thing to be on the line and luffing your sails and waiting here, 3, 2, 1, trim. And everybody goes zoom, zoom, zoom. Right? Because you didn't have boat speed. So you want to have boat speed.
Is that obstacle thing?
We're getting to that. We're going to take an extra few minutes, go a little long here. All right. What's the third thing we want to have?
Wind.
Nope.
Lane.
Lane.
Well,
Room
yeah,
to leeward.
Oh, I see. Lane.
Okay. 1 is in good shape here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we can do what?
He can fall off and get
Rumble mode. Rumble mode. Because these guys are all in pinch mode. They're going slow. They're doing, all right, our target's 5 knots, right? They're doing 4, right? You're in rumble mode. You're doing 5-2, 5-3, okay? The analysis or how you grade or evaluate your start is 60 seconds after. How is your start? In this scenario, 60 seconds later, you're like this, okay? So the whole thing about starting is on time, with speed, and room to leeward.
So you don't want to be early, you're saying.
Don't be early.
Because you don't have the boat speed.
Price is Right rules do not apply in sailboat racing. Right?
Right.
So, and that happens, especially in big fleet racing. People come, they'll come up here and they'll sit on the line just because it's so crowded. Right? So a couple of things that you want to look for. Right? Of course, the race committee at Minnetonka always sets a perfect line. So you can start on either side. So you want to look for a low density, right? Everybody's doing the flying barge start over here, right? You got one person clogging the world, right? You're here. You're yellow 3. Where do you want to go?
up by 1 and then tack.
Right to here. Right? Now, that's called a port approach, right? There's a danger with port approach. What tack am I on?
Port.
Port. What tack am I on?
Port.
What tack am I on?
Port.
Port. What am I doing?
There's tacking.
Tacking. Do you have rights when you're tacking?
No.
No. Now I'm on starboard.
Now you have rights.
No. You acquire
I'm sorry.
rights.
Yeah, you're on start.
There's the
Once
transition
you're
rule,
close.
15, that says you do not instantly get them.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so you have to keep clear. Right? Well, this is mean, nasty Terry Foster. Right? You're
Sounds
coming in
it,
like
yeah.
this. I see you trying to take my lollipop, and I'm going to go to here. That's how you defend. Right? Oh, crap. If I go to here like this, I've just fouled black one.
Yeah.
Right? And this is a pet peeve of mine. If you're in the J70 fleet and you do that to me, I will bring you to the room. If you don't do your circle. And everybody in the fleet knows it. Right? So if you're coming in for the port approach, right? You want to come in with an energy conservation turn and come in and complete this, right? And beware, if you're this guy, he's going to come down and point at you. You have to do this so you are on starboard with transition, which is about 3 seconds. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. Now you're lured boat and can luff.
Okay, so is that 3 seconds?
That's about
Well, it's about
standard.
Okay.
That's standard. Yeah, because you don't get, because you go from port to lured.
Yeah.
So you go from the keep clear to the right-of-way boat.
Right.
But you don't get those rights instantly,
Okay.
right? You got to give the guy
room
room
to
to
keep
keep clear,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And if he's here
Yeah.
and you go, you haven't given him room,
Right. Got it.
right?
Yeah.
So what I want you guys to try a little bit this summer is some port approach, right? Let the whole gaggle over here sort of do their thing. Come in, look for the hole, find your apex, right? Energy conservation turn, land it, accelerate the boat on time with boat speed, room to leeward. All right? And if you guys pull that off at a start, when you come by the committee boat at the finish, you'll get a high five from me.
Ooh.
Right?
Oh, I got a beer.
Yeah.
I don't drink beer, so there's no beer on the committee boat, so there's nothing I can help you with
Can't
there.
toss one out?
Lollipops?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. I've been sober for years
Wow.
now.
So
Yeah.
what?
Just give me a thumbs
Oh, it ran
Yeah.
out. But yeah.
Were you recording?
Oh, I ran out
on
of
your
battery.
phone? Were you recording on your phone? Or
Yeah, unfortunately, because I can't host.
Oh.
Cindy's the host. She's not here.
Just give her one, would you?